Yo, what is up, my friends? Welcome to another episode of Dostcast. मेरा नाम है Vinamre Kasanaa. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe because we release new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. आज के हमारे गेस्ट का नाम है अभिजिन आशर और हम बात करने वाले हैं अभिजिन की. मैं इस जोक को कम से कम 3 बार कर चुका हूँ पॉडकास्ट के अंदर, बट द पॉइंट इज आज मेरे ख्याल से दिस इज प्रॉब्ली वन ऑफ द फ्यू नर्डी कॉन्वर्सेशंस I've had जहाँ पे हम लोगों ने अल्कोहल के इतिहास के अंदर गए. हम लोग इंडिया में अल्कोहल कल्चर क्या है उसके ऊपर गए, किस किस तरह के ब्रांड्स आ रहे हैं. और सबसे पहले एक तो ये चीज़ होती है ना कि इंडिया के अंदर एक होता है कि भाई ये पीता है, ये शराबी है, एक तो ये स्टाइल होता है. दूसरा होता है कि तुम उसे रिफाइंड तरीके से कैसे कर सकते हो एंड हाउ कैन यू मेक alcohol culture or like the finer pleasures of life more accessible to you. उस बारे में बात करी. He works at Svami drinks and manages all things digital. पर मेरे हिसाब से the level of depth that Abhijin has about alcohol in India, I think अगर आपको भी लगता है ना यार कि मेरे को I want to expand and अपना palate enhance करना है, कुछ भी करना है, so this is a conversation for you. So the episode with Abhijin Asher begins in 3, 2, 1. दोस्तों आज हम लोग we're going to talk about gin क्योंकि हमारे साथ अभिजिन बैठे हैं. Abhijin works at Swami Drinks, which is of all things. So I was on this random Zomato restaurant, and I figured out not only do you guys make tonic bottles, you also make non-alcoholic beverages that taste just like alcohol. इससे पहले हम alcohol की बात भी करें. I know like a strong sober community all across the world that swears by these non-alcoholic drinks, like non-alcoholic beer या gin. India में है उसकी market.
Ab hai, like it's again, I wouldn't say that like that's one of our best selling products. That's not what I'm going to say. And I'm not even going to say that like there are competing brands that are doing much better in the same space. That's not the thing. Because here the perception is still is ke if I don't want to drink at a house party, for example, I have my Coca-Cola, I have a juice, I will just squeeze some Nimbu into a soda and I'll do that. The point overall is that, I mean, again, how Swami came about to this was that we kind of see certain things that we find relevance to and we think that okay, let's be the first one to bring this in our community. That's absolutely there. Like even when we plan content, there's something for which is like the broader thing, and there's something which you will only get if you're an absolute enthusiast or a nerd about what we're talking. Like I can take like many examples in that sense. But the zero proof conversation is so
I'm sorry, what is zero proof?
Oh, so how you said like non-alcoholic stuff. So her whiskey bottle, gin bottle, whatever you take, it'll have an ABV, right? Like 40% alcohol
by volume. Right?
Correct. So zero proof. So proof is basically the double of that, and proof is a way to estimate how much alcohol is in the same thing.
Okay.
These are two ways of saying the same thing. And when we say zero proof, that we're saying that there's no alcohol in this.
Right.
And globally, that particular trend of sober curious and zero proof is not just associated with a non-alcoholic drink. It's associated with something that's mimicking alcohol in the sense that it's giving you a very complex drink. It might, in our case, for example, it will give you the taste of a gin and tonic or a rum and cola, whatever you choose. But the thing is that if I'm a bartender and if I'm side by side making 2 drinks, one with gin and one without, and I'm making like a zero proof drink, it should have equal amount of thought and effort and importance of flavor in that drink. So this is basically one way of saying that this is elevated as a drink. This is not just, your simple soft drink that you can get out of the fridge and drink. There's something more that has gotten into it.
Right.
Again, whether that translates or not, that's a consumer's call. They drink it a lot of times. So in fact, like the rum and cola, I've tried this with friends. I've just given that to people in a glass and they're like, yaar, hostel ki yaad aa gayi, Old Monk and cola. That's what's happening. This is like thumbs up and Old Monk. And there's like a little bit of candy flavor to what we do. But yeah, essentially it's that. Like, agar main kisi ko bolu ke it's just a normal drink. Like, imagine you have had 3-4 drinks in the night, all right? And now as a friend, I'm a little worried. I don't know how you're going to go home. And I'm just like, I'm just going to give him a zero proof drink. As a host, I have the option to, serve you something that doesn't take you out of the conversation. It's not going to be a point of ridicule to your friends. Ke,
super important point, because a Coke or a Sprite in a party full of beer is easily like वो दिख जाता है, odd one out हो जाता है, and then that person has to have the additional conversation, यार मैं sober क्यों? तो तू पीता नहीं है, तू पीती नहीं है, right? And so that's a very smart way of because people don't realize कि कितनी बड़ी बात हो जाती है. The reason sober people miss or skip parties unless they like dancing or pure conversation is like this whole ये जो फोर्स किया रहा था कि आप क्यों नहीं पी रहे हो.
Like I don't want to be around people who are so drunk that I feel a little out of place. That's
Right.
the entire thing.
So another thing that you mentioned is sober curious.
Sober curious.
So what does that mean?
So again, it's a part of the movement. Sorry for
You can put the mic slightly closer to your face.
Closer?
Yes,
Alright.
yes, better.
So sober curious is again a global movement in the sense that, like, for example, there's a term called dry January or sober October. In fact, we were talking about Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan with 3 of his other comedian friends did sober October.
Correct.
So you don't drink for 1 full month and you do a lot of exercise. They were making a competition out of it. But the idea is that give your palate a break. Like, how do you even understand that you need to have a conversation with yourself about addiction? You don't want to be at that point where 15 of your friends are sitting you down and having an intervention with you.
Right.
Okay, there's a problem. You would rather, give yourself a little break, not drink for a while, see how your body changes to it. And in fact, when you come back to it, you realize your taste senses are also again heightened. So all of that in that sense helps. Sober Curious, again, like I said, is a global movement. You can like literally look up that hashtag Sober Curious on Instagram and you will see so many amazing stories of what people are saying about turning sober. We've adapted that slightly, and we say that these are curiously sober drinks.
Nice.
And I'm gonna go into brand speak and like this
Please.
sort of like a bit of a marketing ploy to this, but like I see a little bit of difference between Sober Curious and Curiously Sober. Ultimately under the same umbrella. I am wondering how my life would be if I don't drink alcohol for some time. That becomes the conversation. Curiously Sober, in my opinion, because we put curious first, it's basically that person. Like, are you curious about life? Are you curious about what will happen if instead of, sitting at home at 4 in the evening, I just take a walk around my area. I just go around the block, I go see what's happening. I just look at that one board of that dukaan that I've been going to every day, and I look at it a little longer to understand कि ये typography कौन से साल में की होगी.
Yeah, your observation comes back because your immediate biological impulses को satisfy नहीं कर रहे.
Correct. So like from my understanding, Curiously Sober, the slight difference is you're a curious person first.
Right.
And then because it's so prevalent in your life that you're just curious about things, you're also wondering, hey, how would life be if I don't have that third drink? Or, how would life be if I just stop drinking for 1 month? What is going to change in my life?
Right. I've seen that एक जो चीज़ होती है ना, like मैं for the lack of a better term, मैं classy drinking जो होती है कि यार आप cocktails बना के पी रहे हो or you're trying different alcohols. I've seen the people who really enjoy them and do it successfully are not alcoholics. And that's a very important कि मतलब people who understand how to drink in moderation can really enjoy what the alcohol industry has to offer. जिन लोगों को बहुत ज़्यादा वो होती है, they struggle with it because all these modifications that you do to alcohol also require that you enjoy that for the rest of your life as opposed to एक ही दिन में आपने अब 10 margarita पी ली, then you're like screwed.
Correct. So like we were also talking about this last time we met, like because I come from Gujarat. So I mean the area of exposure for me for alcohol was always that कि कुछ हो गया है, somebody's house is free, so all of us can go and drink there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you have 2 people, 4 people, 10 people, certain number of bottles will come and then you have to finish it. It's almost a compulsion. वो machismo आ जाता है कि नहीं यार, how can we waste alcohol if we've somehow gone through so many hoops to jump through and then doing this illegally in this state. And that there's always that point where if you escaped that party 10 minutes before, you had a great time. But if you left after, you were probably taking care of somebody who's puking on the floor. And that will become your memory of the night. It might make a great friendship also that bhai maine tera ख्याल rakha tha. It might have all of that. I'm not discounting. Like, I love my alcohol. I love all things equally, and I absolutely, I am not in a place where I want to consider that I want to give up alcohol at this point. That's not the case. But because that's the entire thing, and somebody it's almost a compulsion. So then again, if you are the curious person, you will actually have that thought that, okay, what if I don't do this? And then again, like I came to Gurgaon for my studies, so I saw a different way of drinking, college mein tha, so of course college comes with its own behavior of drinking. And then I went to Germany, and then things were just so different in the sense that like the first thing that I kind of saw, my senior sort of took us around Berlin, And the first thing she did was that she took us to a normal store where we could buy like a Jack and Coke or something like that in a can. We came out and I was like, where are we going to drink this? And she just popped the can open and she's like, on the street.
It's
right
like
here.
open carry for guns and open carry for alcohol.
I mean, Germany, not guns, the alcohol, yes.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, you can drink in public. And then over the years, I understood public drinking in certain sense is almost encouraged in Germany. Like how you would imagine, you go to a football match and then you just, get drunk on beers and you have your mates and you're having a great time. So similarly, there, that behavior is encouraged. But at the same time, if you're the person who for some reason got too drunk and just threw a bottle on the floor just to, have that theatric of like that bottle smash, 100 people are going to look at you like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
So you are socialized on how to drink.
Correct. Everybody, the culture sort of will tell you that you have the freedom to drink at 9 a.m. in a bus if you want. But if you do anything out of place, which is impolite, like I'm not even saying misbehaving, it's impolite, people will put you back into your place.
That's very interesting, which is a contrast from what happens in India. Ki jahan pe you get a private space, generally this is how people experiment. And then since you have no capacity, in fact, it's even like hush hai, जिस तरह के हमारी restrictions भी हैं, alcohol की advertisement करने पे या जो भी कुछ है, that most people cannot handle their alcohol.
Yeah.
But I would like to move on from there and talk to you about like considering that you work with a very new brand. Like when I was growing up, I didn't see that ये इंडिया की टॉनिक इंडस्ट्री या मिक्सर इंडस्ट्री इतनी बड़ी हो जाएगी, ऐसा कुछ हो जाएगा. एंड इवन लाइक द अल्कोहल्स दैट आई सॉ अदर पीपल ड्रिंकिंग एट दैट टाइम वो बड़ी सिंपल. जैसे इंडिया में लोग विस्की पीते हैं, पानी पीते हैं, मैक्स एक दो लोग सोडा डाल लेंगे. फॉर मैन इट्स लाइक बॉयज बियर, मैन विस्की, वॉडका. लाइक अगर आप कभी दिल्ली में, if you remember, like there used to be this club called Club Royal Mirage way back in the day.
Oh, okay. Never heard of this.
Yeah, it's in Lakki also.
Oh, legend.
But the point is, वहाँ पे जाके vodka shots came into being. Like that was supposed to be like a high energy drink. But is it difficult to advertise or market? Because you guys do it very differently. Instagram पे, you have a very cool interactive account, right? Your founder is also pretty active. Then you do integrations into festivals वगैरह. ये scene बिल्कुल भी ऐसा नहीं था, काफी हर्ष था.
Obviously.
What do you think has changed, and how do you get past doing some of the restrictions you have on advertising for alcohol?
So again, because we don't make an alcoholic product, so it is amazingly open for us. Like I will still get flagged by some Instagram ads कि आप alcohol को promote कर रहे हैं वगैरह वगैरह. But that's not the main case because our product itself does not have alcohol. We're associated. It's called alcohol allied services, like in the sense that you've always seen those bagpipers soda, right? So that's a surrogate brand that the alcohol brand is doing so that they can market. Because as like, I mean, I don't remember at what point it stopped, but we've all seen those 8 p.m. ads.
Yes,
those were for whiskeys, those were not for sodas. Back then it was allowed, and at some point it stopped. The thing is, tonic waters, like again, because my company sort of started with tonic waters, so I'll take that example. But tonic waters absolutely do not, they don't reach out to a person unless you're interested in gin. If I give you vodka tonic for the first time, you might still be like, hey, what is this? This is, I don't know if this is in my wheelhouse. I don't understand this drink yet. But gin and tonic chemically just go so well that it's just the perfect drink on like a hot afternoon as well. And obviously you can have it at a club when you're, dancing out at like 12 a.m. in the night. So the mixer category in India, the alcohol alternative mixer beverages that sort of happened, picked up when gins picked up. So Schweppes, which is like the legendary, Schweppes is by Coca-Cola. It's actually a brand older than Coca-Cola.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. So tonic water is very old, and we discussed that story also. But the thing is, Schweppes is a much older brand than Coca-Cola.
उन्होंने acquire कर लिया होगा ना उससे बाद में.
Correct. And Schweppes has always been around because, again, like this is almost a trade thing. Like Coca-Cola as a company, the area sales manager will go and say that I'll give you a fridge. You have to keep this percentage of cola. You have to keep this percentage of Fanta. And मैं आपको इतना एक case tonic water and ginger ale दे रहा हूँ. You have to keep. So it was around, but in certain markets only. Obviously, it will be relevant in Bombay, but not a lot of other cities. So when it started picking up in India was when the gin revolution started. They almost call it the gin renaissance, the Genaissance of India. And Goa is now just coming up with such amazing brands. and with amazing stories, amazing product, that it became a thing that, okay, if this market is going to develop, then obviously people want to drink tonic water with it.
Right.
Because the beautiful thing about Goa is that a lot of people find new things in Goa and they take it back home and they want the same thing. You know, like if I talk to a generation prior to me in terms of like college seniors, they remember the King's beer in Goa that they had for like 30 rupees. They remember that bottle. They remember having that Old Monk Otter or whatever that memory is. And they try to find the same thing outside when they're back at home. So similarly, when they found all of these amazing gins in Goa, then that market also started sort of popping up in major cities. And again, a lot of people are international travelers. They know what gin is. They've gone to London. They have a cousin. You know, they must have gone to some cocktail festival and, you know, somewhere tried gin. Gin, again, I feel like when vodka came in, because we were talking about vodka also, vodka was seen as a much easier to drink option to whiskey. Right? Again, so gin in the same sense, it's I don't feel that it can be, but normal gins are not as intense as whiskey or even like other brown spirits. So what that does is that it gives you a very, it kind of shocks your palate when you have it for the first time.
It's great. It's so soothing. In fact, मैंने तो पिछले 1.5-2 साल से the hypothesis I've had, as I've hung out around Delhi and Faridabad, where I'm from, I've noticed कि craft beer was very prevalent and a lot of hipster dudes, बहुत सारे जो भी मतलब जिनको शौक था, जैसे specialty coffee आ गई है, right? When we moved away from FMCG and we now have like a gazillion Indian brands, we don't even like go get beans from Ethiopia and Colombia anymore. सब कुछ इधर से ही आ जाता है, right?
Exactly.
In a similar vein, I noticed.
By the way, all of that comes from the same set of farms. By the way, like any brand you pick, which is sourcing from India, it almost comes from the same farm.
Right.
You start reading their label, understanding their labels, you'll be like, oh, this is
90% coffee Chikmagalur se, except for like maybe Araku and a few others, right?
Yeah, you were saying.
But my point is, so I was very excited for craft beer, and I was also around at the time when beer on tap first came to India.
That was lovely, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that was again one of my first experiences with my boss. He used to have a different company. We'll get to that also. But again, hats off to what Bira has done in that space. Bira has been so amazing because I don't think it was even possible at one point that you will move away from your Kingfishers, or like if you talk about Bombay, London Pilsner is like a very local beer.
Sorry, what is a London Pilsner?
It's not a category, it's a brand.
Okay.
And now owned by Kingfisher. Vasai mein banta hai. Like, okay. And some Australian cricketer is like a brand ambassador for that and for ads and all of that. So wherever you went, you kind of had the same thing. And Bira came into this space with their monkey, with their colors, with their youth appeal, with so many activations, with again being very cool about what they're doing. They weren't nerdy. So the beer on tap was absolutely like for the pros. Like in the sense, I'm really enthusiastic. If you were actually on the bleeding edge of that thing, you would understand how to make beer and you would be like, okay, I want to invest in some equipment. I will make my own beer. I've gone to like friends' houses who've made their own beers, labeled it, put crown caps on it and served it. But then what Bira came in and did was that to just make it so easy to have at the price point that works. Bira was slight premium, but you never felt like your pocket is gonna, feel it when you're gonna buy that. At least at the wine shops. I don't remember back when it was at restaurants how much the difference was. Maybe it was still Corona.
No, beer on tap was always cheaper because the hotel or a restaurant would say कि हमारी अपनी है. Okay. So they would, like you said, that people would make so much that a lot of restaurants, like there's this small chain of bars called Folks. In North India, it's quite prevalent. 3-4 जगहों पे हैं. They have at least 4 beers on tap that are cheaper than, say, if you get a Budweiser or a Hoegaarden.
By the way, have you tried like the same beer from the bottle and from a tap?
No, I haven't.
I will sort of say this to everybody. You should absolutely try to do that whenever you're at a pub. If they're serving Budweiser on tap, and if they're serving, Budweiser by bottle, just do a side by side. You will understand what freshness is. Like you remember pasteurized milk, right? So if it's on tap, it's not pasteurized. It's very fresh.
Okay. So
and again, like try a beer which you know that it sells a lot. So the tap lines are clean, because a lot of people don't maintain
Right.
that. But yeah, if you do a side by side, you will just feel this is so much lighter, fresher, it's easier to drink in the same brand.
कार्बोनेशन खत्म हो जाती है क्या?
No. It's just like pasteurization is a way to sort of extend the shelf life of beer, right? So when you put it in a bottle, you have to do certain things so that it lasts longer on shelves.
Right.
But when you're putting it in a keg, in a bar which you know is doing a certain amount of business,
Right.
is just going to get over much quicker. And especially for
It's like regular juice, fresh juice, cold pressed juice, and juice with preservatives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially for like beer on tap, like you were saying, craft beers, वो लोग तो अभी बना रहे हैं. So for them it was even easier to sort of do this. So try that out if you get the chance. Like something from the tap will always taste better.
Let's go into the story of gin because I think जैसे मैं पहले बात कर रहा था, so craft beers came in, ठीक है, and then suddenly I saw a lot of people with high-end jobs who had little purchasing power, younger, 25 plus वाले लोग, and then all the way till 35 even. Like at 40s, I think people are pretty set unless you're like a connoisseur पहले से.
Correct.
I started seeing that after work drink gin बन गई as opposed to craft beer या कुछ और, and like now with the health movement also.
What were the gin brands you were seeing?
So I think only Bombay Sapphire existed. Only the only gin bottle, and gin was such a foreign entity to me. I remember 2012 या 13 के अंदर is when it first sort of started to come on the scene. I would go to hotels and places and a blue bottle of Bombay Sapphire, and I was like, यार ये मैं कभी नहीं पीऊंगा. And the reason for that is it was alien.
Okay.
It had not integrated into our lives the way gin has right now. Jesse, where were we at? We were at the Habitat, right? The fact that they had Greater Than and Stranger and Sons, I never thought a day like that would come. Because abhi bhi, for most people, Bombay Sapphire is what is gin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I had Greater Than for the first time at the Habitat. I was very surprised. At that price, it's a great gin.
It is absolutely a great
Yeah.
gin. I love what they do. In fact, they have a couple more also. They're very nice. But so this point that you're saying that the first thing you see is Bombay Saff is very true. You either see a Bombay Saff or a Gordon's or a Tanqueray.
And Tanqueray थोड़ी सी premium हो जाती है.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, if you look at it price-wise, at least now, Bombay Saff and Tanqueray are almost neck and neck. But like these are the three bottles you saw, and you always saw it at somebody's home or at a bar, and this person is a slight different person whoever is drinking gin. So again, like
enthusiast है.
Exactly. They made the effort to be like कि ठीक है whiskey हो गया. I don't want to drink for the sake of it. Let me try something else.
Right.
And at one point, vodka was that drink, but then when gin came to the scene, it's become gin. And I don't think vodka sales are now increasing.
Belvedere, Grey Goose, Absolute, they've gone out, and I remember premium alcohol was never, unless you went to the whole whiskey segment की red label, green label, black label, उसके अलावा Absolute की bottle was seen as a status symbol, you know.
सबके घर पे खाली bottle.
हाँ, Absolute की. In fact, it was so popular that people had started to make Absolute merch. Archies वगैरह पे Absolute के style के gifts वगैरह मिलते थे. It really had its moment.
But isn't that wonderful? Because the thing is, the tagline for Absolute, and I might be slightly paraphrasing, but it's creativity unleashed or creativity unlocked. Like their entire thing is like, because vodka is so colorless, flavorless, so you just bring your creativity to the thing, and the bottle is so iconic. You see a silhouette and you know it's Absolute.
Yeah.
That's still one of the brands that I kind of respect in the vodka space right now. But gin became the drink of the people who were drinking Absolute. The people who were doing Absolute peach ka shots, and they would be excited कि oh, Absolute pepper, what is this? Absolute vanilla, what is this? These are the people who moved on from that to gin.
But flavored vodka was really hit or miss. I remember in the US also मैंने Svedka की एक दो वो ली थी flavored वाली. It maybe vodka is just too sharp to drink. Because I can't find a word to explain it.
No, sharp is a terminology you absolutely use. In the sense, simplest way to accept sharp is that when you drink it, that's the only thing that hits you. So it's very sharp.
Whereas with gin, it sort of settles into the back of your mouth, and even as it goes down, there isn't the inflammation that you feel with most alcohols.
It's called the alcohol burn, simply put.
Okay.
It's the alcohol burn, how it sort of goes down. And gin is like, good gin, of course, is like easier to drink.
सो ये जिन बनती कैसे है? क्योंकि सो फार मेरे को पता है कि एक चीज़ होती है जुनिपर नाम की, उसके आगे कुछ नहीं पता है कि क्या होता है.
Again, like the base spirit could be turned into vodka, could be turned into gin, and there are so many different.
So what is the
methods.
base spirit? Simple ethyl alcohol.
Correct. And again, like I'm not the expert here. Like there might be other people who sort of explain this better.
You're the expert we have.
But the thing is, when you infuse it with juniper, that's what gives it the main gin flavor.
एक कोई plant होता है किसी type
juniper
का?
is a berry.
Okay.
In fact, in Himalaya also you get the juniper berry. It's just not as strong. But then again, there are certain gins that prefer less junipery taste and more of the botanicals around the thing, like cardamom or like citrus or whatever. So at one, like again, not completely like well explained, but there is one spirit. At one point, it could go to vodka. It could also go to gin.
Wow.
Depending on what you do. You could make your gin in a bathtub. And there is actually a brand called the bathtub gin. There's a category called the bathtub gin.
Wow.
So again, we were talking about pre-prohibition cocktails.
So for the listeners, prohibition is when a specific time in the US जब alcohol ban कर दी थी.
Exactly. और उसके पहले की जो drinks थी, they were very like that's the spot where you know a lot of experimentation with cocktails was happening. And then when prohibition hit, things became very difficult in terms of sourcing. So what happened was that a lot of people started making alcohol at home, and gin is actually not very difficult to make. The bathtub gin phenomena that I'm explaining, you could actually figure out a way to make gin at home. And again, these are not the smoothest spirits, you know, these are again like really sharp. So what happened because of that is that people understood that we need to mix a little more sugar into this. We need to make it a little bit more palatable. We need to mix it with things that will mellow the flavor, the harshness a little bit lower, so that it's more easy to consume by people.
So if अगर मैं, because I've also tried to have just the way you can have whiskey with ice, but I find कि उस time पे gin पीना there's something infectious about the way tonic is कि I cannot imagine a gin without it. कई लोग gin and juice पीते हैं. That's the second best alternative. Even though it's hit or miss, I've tried it. मेरे को juice की sugariness इतनी ज़्यादा feel होती है कि gin I feel like भाई नीचे कहीं थोड़ी सी है.
But so again, like palate is so subjective, right? Like if you are a person who drinks your coffee black without sugar, you're gonna appreciate certain nuances in flavor that other people can't.
Right.
But if you're the person who's gonna drink lattes all the time, you know, you go to Starbucks and you get like the caramel extra and like foam on it or whatever, then you are used to sugary drinks. In fact, like if you have a really sugary drink, you will get more drunk.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That is
so
true.
Again, like that kind of also is a thing that like, you know that, okay, when I did not have a sugary drink, I did not feel as drunk. So a lot of people sort of move to the other direction that, okay, let me just do something simple. Sorry, what were we talking about?
We're talking about just the origin of gin. वो किस तरह से आई?
So again, gin comes from, like the word comes from Geneva. Again, it's some sort of a botanical. I'm not essentially sure about this, but it was made by the Dutch and the Britishers then sort of took over that thing and they made their own version of it. They made a London dry gin. So if you look at a greater than bottle, if you look at a Bombay Sapphire
Gordon's
bottle,
भी London dry है.
Gordon's also. Gordon's is the most London dry gin for me. In the Indian context, greater than just is an overall like all-rounder, how we say in cricket. That's the gin. But Gordon's is the most London dry if you want to understand the category. There's also another category which is very famous in England called the Old Tom. It's a little bit more sugary and there's actually a classic cocktail called the Tom Collins. Which is essentially supposed to be made with Old Tom gin, lemon and some short.
So Old Tom इसका अकेला एक ही brand आता है इस method का?
There is a brand, there is also the category. So again, like because you can do so much experimentation and sort of run wild when you sort of making gin. So the people who are making gin are always interested in what else can I do? How can I sort of put my local botanicals
That's so true, by the way. Even as a, मतलब I'm an enthusiast, but I don't have the tools. Even I'm like, यार इसके अंदर अगर एक cucumber डाल दिया जाए, can we put an orange zest? Because we were having gin and tonic on Holi and we use a standard tanqueray because a lot of people, you can't have like a crafters or something too expensive, right? If it's a lot of people. So we cut a bunch of छोटे oranges, वो ऐसे काट दिए the way the bartenders do it, you know, with the butcher knife.
Slices.
The thin slices. And as soon as we dipped them in, my God, everyone was in love with it. Like they're like, bro, ये हमें और चाहिए.
Yeah, because the citrus, like anything citrus, like orange, grapefruit, lemon, lime, all of that goes really well with gin. Like gin, how they can sort of absorb citrus or spice is just beautiful. Like if I tell you is gin mein pepper hai, you'll be like, yes, is gin mein pepper hai. If I tell you is gin mein cardamom hai, you'll be like, yes, is gin mein cardamom hai. It's very easy to pick out those flavors. If we don't talk about it, then you're just gonna have that gin, you're gonna have that experience.
Right.
But it becomes so easy to identify certain flavors with gin that it kind of that light bulb goes in your head. It's the same thing when I talk about like whiskeys, for example. If I tell you it's a smoky whiskey, it's a peaty whiskey, it's got a little bit of Highlands.
What does the word peaty mean?
So peat is basically a sort of fuel in Scotland because it's so damp all the time. So they take certain part out of like grasslands and they make a brick. जैसे हम यहाँ गोबर का fuel बनाते हैं, right?
हाँ, manure. हाँ,
Correct.
हाँ.
So in the same way, out of that damp grassland, they take a brick out and they use it as fuel to sort of heat the copper stills that whiskey is made in. And all it produces a lot of smoke. So that smoke sort of goes into the whiskey over a long period of time and it gives it that peaty flavor. Because smoke, maybe you can describe different kinds of smoke.
Right.
Like a smoke, I can tell you that, oh, it feels like I am at a campfire, in the mountains versus a campfire right at the sea.
This is what perfumers also do, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Versus, let's say, saying that it smells like a hospital on fire, which is again something we talked about, right? Huh? So there's this legendary brand called Lagavulin. Fans of the show Parks and Rec will also know this because the main guy, the mustache guy, Ron something. He's
Ron Swanson?
So he drinks Lagavulin and he goes to a lot of places and he'll ask for that. Like he'll go to a cocktail bar and he'll ask for that. That's the kind of character. In fact, the person is also a big fan of Lagavulin. So that comes from a certain region in Scotland called Islay, ISLE. And they're very famous for their peaty whiskies because the kind of peat that you will find there is very special. And again, because it's like low degree temperatures, so they age everything for a much longer time. Like just taking a small detour, but something that a whiskey in Scotland needs 18 years for, something similar in a temperate atmosphere like Goa, like Paul John is a very good Goan whiskey brand. They can do it for like 3 to 5 years and have the same result.
You can move the mic ऐसे थोड़ा सा थोड़ा टेढ़ा हो रहा है. So sorry about that. अब सही है.
Yeah, I can hear myself clearer.
Yeah, that's fine.
So Lagavulin then is one of these legendary brands who it's like if you give it to somebody for the first time, depending on what they've had before or not had before, they can say that I feel like I'm tasting like a burning tire. Wow. Correct. It's just nuts, like the kind of description that people sort of come up with when they're tasting Lagavulin.
Alcohol की industry ने बहुत सारे writers का जम तो जरूर किया होगा. Not just like the average writer stereotype कि हम drink करके लिखते हैं, but just explaining what alcohol tastes like, right? That requires a good vocabulary. I
mean, it needs a certain understanding, but at the same time, like how do you explain burning tire taste? You can't. Nobody's tasted a burning tire. It's just so visceral when you taste it that you come up with the first thing that comes into your head. And like again, like how I said, it tastes like a hospital on fire. It's because there are certain medicinal tastes you will find in there. You will find some like iodine like test.
Jesse all Red Bulls and cough medicines roughly taste the same.
Correct. Which is so weird because I don't taste that. Like I kind of taste Red Bull and I'm like, I'm tasting the color purple. I don't know for what reason. It's not even that purple. I don't think I have that, but I just feels like it's gonna be that. And again, I don't see that cough syrup wala thing. I've done an AB, by the way. Yeah. I just don't see it. I feel like AB is basically when you take one versus the other. Okay. So let's say this is Stranger in Sons, this is greater than, and I drink side by side. So
how many like when you were at Swami at the HQ, like are you constantly testing drinks even though your job involves doing things digitally? Are you also testing drinks?
Oh, absolutely. So we actually have an Instagram account called Drinks at Swami HQ because we drink so much at the office, and it's not from the perspective of looking at this academically. It's just the love for alcohol. Like again, and everybody in the company is so involved with what you can do with the alcohol journey. So for example, if I'm going to Goa or if I'm going to Delhi, where I know that I will get alcohol for cheaper than here, like my boss just came back from Singapore, so like the story you saw on my Instagram today where I was tasting this amazing liquor called Suze, it's because he went to Singapore, so he got that. He got mezcals, he got
mezcal tequila की तरह होती है ना?
tequila की तरह होती है. Like how I explained peat to you, it's a smoky version of a whiskey. Mezcal is a smoky cousin of tequila.
Okay.
Yeah, so he got elemental, sorry, not Emmental. Emmental is the cheese. Elemental tequila reposado, which is an aged tequila, so it'll be like slightly amber in color, not white, not like transparent. And he got mezcals also. So because these were new bottles at the bar in the office, so we were like, okay, let's do a tasting. And luckily, like another person who had just joined today, it was his first day. In fact, he was wearing like formal shoes and suspenders, and the person he was reporting to was wearing a Contra t-shirt and shorts.
Every person's first day. Yeah.
Exactly. And the Contra t-shirt guy was also on a suit, wearing a suit when he was on his first day. So like because this was also a first day, so we were like, okay, this is fair enough reason to have a drink at the office. And the thing is, we are just fans of alcohol in such a sense that we know the kind of conversations that we want to have before alcohol, and we know the kind of conversations we want to have after alcohol. In the sense, like, if I could explain it in the simplest terms of a closed mode and open mode, the closed mode is when you want to go through your to-do list. कि आज 6 चीज़ें ये ख़त्म करनी है. What is the decision is this? What is the next step? ये क्या करना है? ये क्या करना है? And then there is just this out there thinking कि okay, how can we, for example, I'll give you a big problem that we think about. As a mixer brand, we're always playing second fiddle to an alcohol company. Right?
You're at the whims and mercies of whatever alcohols come in the market or go out. Right.
So how do I make the conversation more relevant about mixers in comparison to alcohol? It's not like we want to take away because we're all fans. So, like these conversations we want to have after one drink. We want to have after 2 drinks. And then after the 3rd drink, we don't want to talk about work at all. We just want to talk about where to get pizza from.
Right.
Yeah. So the part about drinking in the office is more to do with, we're actually like friends. Like everybody in the team likes the team. And like, again, if I could call everybody at my house, I would call them and I would offer them whatever I have. But at the same time, the office becomes the best place to sort of have the drink, I often say this to a lot of people who are fans of Negroni. The best Negroni is in my office. Yeah. The kind
Negroni
of Negroni.
Hoti kya? I've heard the name.
Correct. So Negroni is an old school cocktail. It's just a simple cocktail which has gin, Campari and sweet vermouth in equal parts. So you put 30-30-30 and that's about it. So Campari is an Italian bitter. So it's very orange forward. It's got a red
ये खाने के साथ खाते हैं ना. So Italians and French, they have these things called aperitifs and bitters. They eat with food, right?
Correct.
They drink with food.
So aperitif, like the name suggests, it's an appetizer. So it helps you open up your flavor taste buds so that you taste the food more. And bitters and digestives are basically had at the end of the meal. So it helps you sort of digest your food. Fun fact, Jägermeister is a digestive.
Wow. So why do people drink it like fish?
Correct. Like, again, so like that's the marketing part of it. Like, how does somebody sort of market your brand?
It looks like a medicine bottle.
It does. It tastes like medicine. Like, that tastes like cough syrup a lot more to me than Red Bull for a long shot. Jägermeister is medicine. And again, like you'll see this about Jägermeister. They'll always have a chotu fridge and a dispensing thing, and they'll always serve it in very ice cold glasses also. The shot glass itself is cold because it's such an intense flavor. If you drink it warm, you'll be like, ये नहीं कर सकता.
Alcohol burn बहुत ज़्यादा है उसके अंदर.
Alcohol burn and also just the amount of flavor. Like, forget the burn. At some point, see, that's also something that I feel a lot of people experience when they're on their whiskey discovery journey, where at some point they don't mind the alcohol burn at all. Like in India, it's very easy to say, yaar, ye bahut smooth hai, bahut achhi lag rahi hai. That's not, like, when you start, chasing more experiences in whiskey, you're not necessarily looking at smooth as the best whiskey. Right. Like I said, Lagavulin is a very visceral sort of, experience. So you're looking at, even like for Jameson, like a fan of Jameson will go to the Jameson Stout Castmates, like a different version of it, to just get something like different out of what he is familiar with. So like small steps. So in that sense, like Jägermeister, if you have it really warm, you're just gonna not, like, again colleges में तो obviously बहुत होता है, शादियों में भी you'll see a lot of people, you know,
Jaeger bomb पी रहे हैं,
Jaeger bombs. So all of those things become a little difficult to you know, actually enjoy it. But if you have it cold, it subdues it to the right temperature and then you can have
I think one helpful thing is to know the origin story of all alcohols, to understand किस context में उन्हें पीना है, because what often happens is whenever people turn of age, there is an explosion, there is an interest, purchasing power भी आ जाती है लोगों के पास, and it's, if you're not careful, if you don't have friends who sort of ease you into it, you tend to not really enjoy the experience. And what I want to get at from there is, I remember when I turned of age in India, it took a long time, but when I was in the US also, for anyone who's an enthusiast, बड़ा मुश्किल होता है, because let me tell you about colleges. What is most cheap, ठीक है, most available, सब लोग वो पीते हैं, so there is no choice. मतलब, and frankly, like people who like drink a little sophisticated nerd type के लोग ऐसे उन्हें माना जाता है, until you grow older and you realize you can do a lot more with the alcohol. But for someone who's turned of age, who's come to this new fancy ass bar, who's intimidated कि यार मैं लूँ भी क्या, 100 choices हैं, and they remember their father drinking Kingfishers or 8 PM, वो safe है, वो इंसान क्या कर सकता है?
See, I think I wouldn't recommend to anybody to skip this rites of passage. You have to do that. You have to have officer's choice with your friends in like one dingy hostel room. You need to drink that Old Monk when your entire room smells of Old Monk. There's just so much beauty in this experience that you can't recreate this thing.
Correct.
Like that's why Old Monk is so valued. You go to the fanciest bars, you will still find Old Monk.
बहुत weird है, 500 की bottle होती है.
Correct. I remember I was at a friend's house, and again, like I was at that age when I was coming of age, and this girl basically gave us Old Monk, like a couple of friends were there, and her dad came and he was like, ye auto rickshaw wale peete hain, why are you drinking this? And we were like, no uncle, this is what we love, we really like this, we want to have this. And for us, we've heard so much, we've seen so much, so we want to go for that. And I don't recommend to anybody that you skip that phase. In fact, like the other thing also, like you were saying, that what works is the cheapest and what works is what is available. So for example, if I go to a house party, you know, and again, if the host is serving Kingfisher Premium, I will drink Kingfisher Premium. I don't mind. I love that beer. You give me something worse off also, I will drink it, because I'm there in your space and I don't want to be disrespectful. But at the same time, if I know, for example, that I want to have a Bira White, I will bring a Bira White to the party. Right. It's not that difficult, right? I can have a conversation with him. No. So I can be the person who gets like 6 different kinds of beer and says that, guys, like we will keep drinking Kingfisher, but start karte hain, so let's just taste the little and let's just talk about it for like 5 minutes. And then obviously Kingfisher us pe hi aana hai, fir baad mein whiskey pini hai, so we'll do that.
Right.
So that's the thing. I don't think looking at it from like for example, a lot of people say that about wine. Wine is very intimidating. Wine should not be intimidating. This is a 15% alcohol drink.
Really? I was like, आपके पास कौन सी हैं? They're like 3 है, 2 imported है, exported. I look at the bottles, this one had the best packaging. I was like, I still make decisions like that for alcohol. Yeah. Because how does one even understand? This is what I want to come at. The alcohol industry from the outside, for not someone who's working inside, या वो bartender नहीं है, or like an enthusiast नहीं है, seems so advanced. Like some of the things you said, I know, but अभी मेरे को सिर्फ 60% पता है.
Correct.
Does it come, like, does it help ki, do you go to a bartending school, or do you read up on it? Like how can, for the lack of a better word, इंसान sophisticated कैसे बन सकता है about their alcohol?
Like, I mean, the basic premise here is that consume a lot more, not in terms of कि यार आज तो
quantity, but
Bhand hona is not the point of it, right? When you look at this academically, just not even academically, if you just like, अगर मैं आज, if I drink 5 different cocktails, I will remember the first and the second one in terms of what the properties were and what I enjoyed and what I didn't like. But 3-4 drinks के बाद नहीं होगा.
Law of diminishing marginal utility.
हाँ. You're just getting drunk, like as simple as that. So that's why you'll see a lot of wine tasters. They will have a spittoon. Thukpan. तो उसको they will just coat their mouth with it. They will see what the feel is. They will smell it. They will make their judgments. They will not drink it. Even if you keep it in your mouth, something is getting absorbed in there by skin inside also. But they don't drink it and they spit it out. So they'll have like really purple teeth. Kabhi, like you see like people who are at wine tasters, you'll see photos of them where their teeth feel like कि ये तो meth करके आया है, इसका सब टूटने वाला है. But that's the thing. That's what I'm getting at. That you taste it. That first second that you taste it, that's it. And there are again like a lot more things that you could do with how you drink a particular alcohol. For example, whiskey. Any whiskey that you like, you feel कि ये मेरे को पता है कि ये whiskey क्या है. Just pour a little bit of it in a glass. Have one very small sip. Neat. Just understand what is it doing to your mouth. Is it tingling on your tongue? Can you taste something? Can you decipher कि okay maybe मेरे को थोड़ा वुड जैसा लग रहा है. इट कुड बी ओकी फॉर एग्जाम्पल. मेरे को थोड़ा वुड जैसा कुछ लग रहा है. या फिर इट फील्स लाइक कि अर्थ वो सॉइल की जो स्मेल आती है ना, इट फील्स फेमिलियर टू दैट. सो come to that perception in your head without any other interference. That's one way to do it. Then you put 1 to 2 drops of water in that same whiskey. Not a lot, just 1 drop. वो ऐसा dropper से that much. And then you taste it again and you'll be like, oh my god, this is so different. इतना सा डिफरेंस पानी की वजह से. एंड देन यू मेक योर ओन नॉर्मल. इफ़ यू ड्रिंक इट विद सोडा, ड्रिंक इट विद वाटर, व्हाटएवर, जितना आप डालते हो उतना डालिए. एंड देन यू टेस्ट इट एंड देन यू विल अंडरस्टैंड ओके सो दैट इज 1, 2 and 3. That's the way to do it. Now the next step is again A, B, like I was saying. So if you are somebody who likes single malts, for example, you drink a Talisker, you drink a Glenmorangie. Those are so different. You will start understanding कि अगर इस region का मैं कुछ पी रहा हूँ या इस character का मैं कुछ पी रहा हूँ, तो it should be in this direction. This should be in a different direction. That's the easiest way to do it. And again, like do it like the occasions when we drink are so defined when we're coming of age that you just do it in your first, second sips, first, second drink, and then you forget about it. Then you just enjoy the drink that you're having.
So what alcohols specifically originate from India जो उनकी मतलब जान पहचान और वर्ल्ड के अंदर भी. I saw this one Jaisalmer Royal or Jaisalmer Select, I'm not sure. And then not that. We were sitting at Soul Fry.
Okay.
And you mentioned how कि किस तरह से जैसे एक ठेका इंग्लिश वाला होता है, एक देसी वाला होता है. वहाँ एक 60-70 रुपए की और इवन 40 रुपीज़ की संतरी मिलती है, which is called country liquor, right? Correct. So people who cannot afford very expensive alcohol, they go for that. The effects are very adverse in most cases, right? मतलब I literally saw someone. एक बार मैं अपने भाई को ट्यूशन छोड़ने गया था, एक बंदा दोपहर को हेज में लेटा हुआ था ट्यूशन के बाहर.
I'm from Gujarat, right? So they try to make the same thing. People have gone blind because of drinking that
country में. तो उसमें क्या या उसमें regulations नहीं होती, क्या होता है? And then you were telling me like how there's some company has decided to use that idea to make it like you use country made liquor and like package it as and selling it to the rest of the world.
Correct. So again, like here I will plug a little bit from somebody that I respect a lot in the Indian space. So again, Indian liquors are amazing. There's Mahua, there's Feni.
Mahua क्या होती है?
Mahua Bihar से नहीं it's Bihar or UP. Again, I'm not the most knowledgeable person here, but Mahua is again like an Indian made liquor, like roots are here. Feni, obviously everybody who's had some trip to Goa would have
knows
heard
about it.
Feni.
Yeah, Feni.
Tadi hoti hai. Tadi is like from Kerala. Toddy बोलते हैं उसे. So यहाँ पे भी मिलता है. So in fact, if you go around rural parts of Maharashtra, you'll see this one thing called Neera. Neera, when you ferment, turns into Tadi.
Okay.
Or Toddy. So again, like there are so many Indian, like in fact there's not an exhaustive list क्योंकि हर region का कुछ ना कुछ होता है. आप पहाड़ों में जाएंगे तो वहाँ पे वो अपनी अलग apricot wine बनाते हैं. Like the process is apricot wine, but they'll have some name for it.
Very sweet wine, हाँ.
वो आपको स्टील के ग्लास में कुछ दे रहे हैं, आपको याद भी नहीं रहेगा आपने क्या पिया, but you remember that something came from there.
Right.
Northeast makes its own, like they make rice beer. Again, don't know what the name is. So like कमी नहीं है इंडिया में लिकर की, बट इट्स जस्ट दैट द उतनी इज्जत से नहीं देखा गया. Again, because of the connotation of Santra and so many. Santra is also one kind of liquor, by the way. Okay. Like there are so many other things that also exist in the same space. But there are certain Indian brands that are actually doing some good work to bring, to showcase what India can also do. So Feni is definitely something that's seeing a massive amount of push. Because जैसे हम बात कर रहे थे, gins, most of these gins that are available in India and now, based out of India, they're coming out of Goa, except for 1-2 that's like Tera is from Rajasthan. Everything else is made in Goa. So Goan people are also talking about, what Feni has always been the thing that we drink. Urak has its own season. Like Urak right now is in season. Urak is a Goan made liquor.
Achha, I've heard something called Arak also.
Arak is Turkish. aniseed.
Aniseed se, haan.
Correct. Very similar to aniseed. So you'll have sambuca, you'll have ouzo, and you'll have arak, which are very similar and made in completely different parts of the world.
So, ek minute, sorry. Sambuca.
Sambuca.
What is sambuca?
Is also aniseed based liquor. Like liqueur is basically something that's sweeter than normal alcohol. So liqueur. So sambuca hai. A lot of people do shots of that with like coffee beans. There is ouzo and there is arak. All of these are very similar. In fact, even absinthe. Absinthe is very strong.
Absinthe, yeah.
Absinthe is very, very strong. It needs to be like, depending on where you are, the regulation might be 70 to 90%. It has to have alcohol. So absinthe is also aniseed based.
Yeah. So Europe said 90% absinthe le aaya tha, and it was my birthday, and that's the first thing I offered people. Horrible
What did
decision.
you do? Did you offer shots?
Oh no! I had 4 tester bottles, and I offered swigs to each of my friends.
So that's basically just the shot, right?
Yeah, and I guess it's a shot. But I had heard so many bad stories about absinthe, and one of my friends was like, "Yaar, ye jo cheez hai na, this can fuck you up really bad."
For a very long time, it was actually considered that you will go mad if you drink too much absinthe because there's just so much alcohol. It's not true, obviously. There are just these legends that, like in fact, gin used to have a really demonic legend about it that you will not have kids if you have enough gin.
Vodka ke bare mein bhi same cheez hai.
I'm not even talking about just men, even women. Like look up gin lane. I'm not even going to go into this, but please look up what gin lane that fucking illustration is. It just shows London from the 1500th century or something, and everybody is losing their minds in an open courtyard promenade somewhere because they are drinking gin. Like there is this whole legend about it, which is not true, and I would just say like, please look it up because the story is so engaging. I don't want to tell you now. Like if you take that effort of taking that one Google search, you will feel connected to gin. Next time you go to a bar, you'll be like, give me some gin. I want to see what this is about.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's also a part of the process of how you can actually get a little bit more interested about alcohol. Coming back to Arak and Feni. So Feni is seeing some great things happen. I was just at an event in Delhi called the 30 Best Bars, and the best bar was this place called Bartenders, which is based out of South Goa. And some amazing people working behind it. Amazing Feni cocktails with all kinds of alcohol bottles that you might not see
Feni
anywhere else
from
in India.
Kaju. Right?
Kaju, correct. Kaju Feni. So I've tried a lot of Feni cocktails. Amazing stuff. So there are a lot of brands that are doing really well. I'm forgetting the name. I don't know. I'm just blanking out at this point.
That's okay.
Kazulos is from Goa again, a Feni maker. In fact, they'll give you the full experience. How you can go to a whiskey distillery and have an experience. You can go to their distillery. They'll explain how Feni is made. You can have a dinner where your food is matched with the kind of Feni that you're having.
That's crazy.
Feni is not just cashew, by the way. You could have Feni out of a lot of other things. So again, like these things, when you start pulling at these ropes, then you start finding more, and then you look at alcohol in a very different way. You don't look at alcohol for just getting drunk.
Right. It's not a means to an end. It's not. It's a part of your lifestyle, and you can study it academically as well, which is what a lot of us do once we realize कि there is so much more to, like, I think the pursuit of any kind of pleasure, चाहे वो खाने के अंदर हो, coffee के अंदर हो, alcohol के अंदर हो, studying a little bit of it really enhances what you can do with your life when you diet. Like, when people are like, I'm a fan of good food, but like, what do you mean by good food? You know what I mean? Like, I'm a fan of good alcohol. What do you mean?
Correct.
Because the most expensive isn't always the best.
Right.
You can have India में क्या होता है, as far as whiskey is concerned, I think like एक तो maybe Generation X men के अंदर ऐसा है, they really have a lot of limited options. Because या तो वो cultural connotations ऐसे हैं.
No, it used to be limited options. You did not find enough alcohol brands in India. No, like after the 90s is when a lot of brands started coming in.
I mean, like जो general behavior भी है ना, it's still largely focused around whiskey.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing in any sense of stretch. But the thing is, again, like it's said that India is the largest whiskey market. But when you look at the numbers, it's mostly, your Royal Stags and Bagpipers and like
everyday whiskeys.
Correct. Yeah. That it's that one person who's going to the theka ke baaju mein koi gali hai, he's just pouring it in water, he's having full thing and he's going out and doing his work.
Right.
Or he wants to forget the work that he was
microdosing on whiskey. Yeah.
So it is all of that. But again, like if you look at the brand manager of Royal Stag, or if you look at the brand manager of a Bagpiper, they will have that taste. So the point that you were taking about, like when you start looking at things a little differently, that's what I've seen in the alcohol industry. People are so passionate. And I'm not just saying this because in certain senses, India is a young market for certain kinds of alcohol. It's just across the board. People who are long time in the alcohol industry always have, a certain palate. They've tried to expose themselves so much to what's happening internationally, what we can do here, what can I, explore here. Like those, the kind of experiences you can have should not be limited to you feeling drunk. That's the entire thing.
Fascinating. Acha, as far as rosé wine is considered, when I was in the US, this was considered a white girl's drink. ठीक है? So, and friends would make fun कि यार ये white girl drink पी रहा है. But then I hung out with a few women and then they got me onto rosé. And till this day, I'm like,
good, right?
It's really good, bro.
Good.
Like it's
fucking good.
In some ways, it's better than white wine.
Yeah.
And red wine थोड़ी harsh रहती है, at least for me.
That's exactly why rosé works, because it's so approachable. You will not feel offended by the taste of it. You will not even, like red wine के बारे में, there is so much to say. White wine के बारे में there's so much to say.
Both
of course,
polarizing.
Of course, for rosé also, but like rosé has just found its own niche where it's such a refreshing drink that you can have at the afternoon.
Is it a mix of the two?
No, actually not. So rosé is made from similar grapes to red. The process is slightly different. So again, like while making your wine, if you let the skin of the grape remain, your wine will turn differently. So again, the process of making rosé for any wine is that you need to have a certain kind of grape. So it's not necessarily that rosé is just a mix of red and white. In fact, never will rosé just be a mix of that. It has its own.
I thought it works like pasta.
No, I get it. But it's so approachable, and like this is kind of become my go-to barometer. If you can have that drink on a hot afternoon, then anybody will drink that.
Right, because I mean, largely India के अंदर, if you leave the northern states, it's a largely hot country.
Yeah.
Wherever you go, चाहे coast में जाओ, चाहे central India में जाओ, चाहे south में जाओ, चाहे ये हरियाणा वाली और ये UP वाली belt में जाओ, it's a hot country.
Yeah, but again, like India, for example, will bastardize a lot of things also. Like Old Monk का पीते हैं?
सर्दियों में?
नहीं. See, where did rum come from? The Caribbean.
Right.
Bacardi is from Puerto Rico, Peru, whatever. So, like rum was made in Caribbean states. Caribbean में ठंड नहीं, they're at the beach. West Indies, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Peru, वहाँ से ये सब कुछ आ रहा है. So, obviously वहाँ पे हमेशा गर्मी है. जो बॉम्बे का humid weather है उससे ज़्यादा है. And they are drinking rum. Cuba Libre was made. Yeah.
ठंडी.
हाँ, but basically rum is not something that you're supposed to have only in the winter. It's just Old Monk has that connotation. So India just takes whatever they want and they're like, "Nee, this is ours. This is how we treat it, and this is how we'll
let's
drink
make
it."
Indo-Chinese food. Yeah.
Exactly. Gobi Manchurian does not exist outside of India.
Right.
So like these are the things where, and again, all of these cultural things are so difficult to shape. Like Old Monk can actually start a campaign to say that you can't have it only in the winters. But if they do it, वो अपने पाँव पे कुल्हाड़ी मार रहे हैं.
बिल्कुल. कोई करेगा ही नहीं. Because I remember my memories with Old Monk are like, it is butt fucking cold in Delhi. Everyone is dying. ठीक है? And then you're sitting around a bonfire. कोई बोलता है टिक्का वगैरह लगाते हैं. Some pyrotechnics are always like कि हम चला सकते हैं आग को, हमें आता है बनाना, तो तुम बनाओ. And then one guy is like busy making the Old Monk.
Yeah.
And as you drink the Old Monk, you are sharing stories. And with each sip of the Old Monk, you get drunker and you stop feeling cold. Right?
Yeah, it's called the alcohol blanket.
Oh, really?
Like a lot of, like for example, I don't know if you saw this in the US, but a lot of people say that like Asians have the Asian glow. When
Correct. Yes.
It starts turning pink. None of these things exist. It's just like how we've understood and believed that this is true. A lot of these things are myth. But again, so that's the thing you were also saying. Like you don't remember the fact that you had Old Monk. You remember the stories that came out because you guys were drinking Old Monk. You remember the bonding experience you've had. You know, you meet all of these same friends after 5 years because you've gone somewhere else. And you will have the same, it feel like it started from the same point, from there to now. So, and again, alcohol is
Old Monk. Have you watched the short film called Old Monk? YouTube short films पे
no, the who's the actor in this?
Piyush Mishra.
Oh,
Sanjay Mishra.
Sanjay Mishra. Yes,
His friend is dead and he's having
correct.
वो जगह पे जाके
spoiler alert, guys, if you haven't seen.
हाँ, it's a great film. Oh shit, I revealed the spoiler. कोई बात नहीं, हाँ, but
we'll put something.
Yeah, उससे याद आया. So like I know that Swami doesn't have the same problem कि you can advertise whatever.
Yeah.
But अब क्या हो रहा है? Like I've seen alcohol brands are now using Instagram influencers because Instagram happens to be this space that isn't really regulated by governments कि यहाँ पे एडवर्टाइज नहीं कर सकते. Has that worked for these brands at all? कि वहाँ से integration आ रहा है lifestyles के अंदर लोगों के?
Absolutely. In fact, like if you take any legacy brand, when I say like any brand from Pernod Ricard, Diageo, or Bacardi or whatever.
Sorry. Repeat that again. Pernod
Ricard. So Jameson is by Pernod Ricard. Absolutely, is also by Pernod Ricard.
These are holding companies.
These are the head
जैसे
companies.
United Breweries हो गई. उसके अंदर कई सारे
Exactly. And Diageo will have your Black Dog, all Johnny Walkers, Smirnoff, Tanqueray is by them, Gordon's is by them. And Bacardi has Bombay Saf. And
is it an Indian-based company?
No. So Diageo, I think their head office is in Ireland.
Okay.
Pernod Ricard, I'm not sure. But essentially, Bacardi again, like from Cuba. So all these brands, I kind of lost my thought.
हाँ, हम बात कर रहे थे कि कैसे Instagram के through
Instagram particularly. So when you look at the marketing plans for any of these people, because they cannot advertise like ATL nahi kar sakte, like on TV, newspaper, they can't do it. So they're always looking at how can I sort of have this conversation online. And again, how you can reach the right person online is just the best thing, right? You can't, like, just because you are interested in whiskeys, you're going to see something that I post about whiskeys. It's going to reach your feed somehow if it's good enough. If you're interested in gin, if you followed Stranger and Sons, you will see something by some other brand also. In fact, as an advertiser, like as Swami, and like digital marketing people will obviously know this, especially the ones who run ads. I can go and I can say that, okay, if this person is interested in Jack Daniels, Gordon's, cocktails, going out, I want to show my ad to this person.
Yeah. I saw an ad with Anubhav Singh Bassi, किसी एक whiskey के लिए.
Black Dog?
I think Black Dog. And it made sense because a lot of his comedy is also based around कि hostel college में दारू पी रहे थे. So that is so brilliant. Like no one will ever say कि यार आप ये क्यों कर रहे हो?
Absolutely. And I don't think this space is easy to sort of censor also. Like I think what will happen will still happen. अब एक बात हो गई, if you get this influencer and you sort of do this, but at the same time, Bassi, like somebody at that level is not the only influencer, right? If, for example, as a brand, I go and tell the best bartenders, the best 30 bartenders in India, that for the next 3 months, please talk about Greater Than, or please talk about Stranger and Sons. I'll pay you XYZ or whatever. So if you start seeing it on their feed, like those are the actual influencers. No, at the bar, if you go to the bartender and you say, hey, what's good? And if he tells you have a Stranger and Sons ka gimlet, you will be like, let's go for it.
You trust the bartender.
Correct.
Yeah.
Those are the actual brand trade ambassadors. That's also what they're called. And I mean, I have like immense amount of respect for bartenders. I kind of have always seen them as like the silent superhero of your night. You know, if you're going out with a couple of friends, if you've had a bad experience of service, it's going to spoil your night. But if you're having a great night, that means all of these people are just silently in the background doing the best job they can, and they don't bother you at all, and you're just having a great night. They are the silent superheroes. They make sure that you get the drink when it's cold. Like even if the drink comes to you like 5 minutes late, the ice is melted, the drink is changed. You're not having the same experience. They're making sure that whatever you need, if you want to just sit at the bar and talk to somebody, they will talk to you, you know. All of these things, like they just do so much. And then again, this is just one part of what they're doing. They're also making sure that the bar is clean. They're making sure that I've done all the prep that needs to be ready before I do my shift.
They're doing mental math for caching, all of that jazz.
They do mental math to understand that aaj Saturday to itna jayega, to I need to prepare with all of this.
Right.
And they also put their creativity in making the drink. Of course, a lot of people are just going to drink whiskey sours and like vodka tonics or whatever. But if a bar is known for its bar program, like if the cocktails are nice, they've done the research to understand that this flavor will work with this flavor, will work with this flavor. And this is how I can give the best experience to my guest. So if that is the amount of effort that somebody has put into, you know, giving you an experience while, you know, not interfering at all, that person is making sure that you have a great evening. They're the silent superheroes.
मैंने ऐसा भी देखा है, लेकिन maybe Sidecar and other bars that are known for their bar program are exceptional, but people treat bartenders like shit in a lot of places in India as well, right? कि अरे ये बनाना ऐसे करना, right? And so I'm not sure if these people who are bartenders do they then become servers of alcohol, or are they not professional bartenders? Well, that's always a question in my head. You know, is this person capable of making a full drink, or are they here to serve? Because वो distinction is also not very clear. Like some bars, you know, यार कि यहाँ की cocktails बड़ी अच्छी हैं.
Right.
Others is like एक standard club है, उसके अंदर एक bar है. It's like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
In that sense, like again, it could be very difficult to distinguish that. And I know that you've also worked at a bar. I have previously worked at a bar for 1 year. So I know that distinction can be different. It's a spectrum. Some people are very good.
Just to stop you, I worked at a college bar, which is like, college bar में क्या, we would wear our fucking like wait staff outfit and just go and pour beer and wine.
Right.
I was a pourer. I was
Correct.
but I had to like attend an examination for that. Certification लेनी पड़ी थी, हाँ.
And at the same time, you also had to be amicable to your guests, right? It's not like you're just going to be an asshole and you're still going to have
people
the same
are so
job.
nice to you when you're a bartender.
Yeah. And you make good tips.
Yeah.
So
we weren't allowed to make tips, but I still made tips because I would tell these 60-year-old women like, "Oh, you're 16, I can't serve you." I was like, "Oh, okay, great." Yeah, but yeah.
No. So coming back to that conversation, that I don't know if this person is going to be able to make a drink or not. I think if you have no research onto the place that you're going, the best thing is to have a conversation with the person. You know, even if you don't go up to the bar, if you're seated at a table, just ask the server what's good here, like how are the cocktails here, you know, and then you will obviously know what's good or what's not. So again, like for example, if I had to go about this, what I would do is that I will look at the menu first and I will be like, okay, what kind of classics do they have? Do the classics make sense? In the sense के अगर ये 6 ड्रिंक की मेरे को बनानी है, तो I will keep them somewhere similar so that my stock is sort of, you know, moving fast.
तो 3 जिन की हो जाएंगी, 2 whiskey की हो जाएंगी.
Not just that, like even other ingredients. Like is it the basic citrus and orange and like very basic stuff, or is that like a Singapore sling or a Mai Tai, which is like
it can't be like
cocktails.
pina coladas and बहुत सारे ऐसे. It has to be
like,
sort of in the same.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a lesser chance of fucking this up. I'll see that on the menu, and then I'll see if they have house cocktails. If the house cocktails, again, if you look at the ingredient list, when you know your alcohol, you kind of feel like, okay, this will work, this will not work, at least for my palate. And then I would always give it a shot. You know, like even if I then don't like it, I will go back to whatever else, but I will give it a shot. That's my approach.
Have you had to modify your cocktail sometimes? You know, I was recently I'd gone to lunch at someone's place. And they were like, what would you like to have? I gifted them a whiskey that I was like, ये Japanese whiskey लग रही है, अच्छी है. Surprisingly, it worked out. And then they offered me Monkey Shoulder की gin with
Monkey Shoulder whiskey.
Sorry, Monkey 47.
Monkey 47.
दो अलग है ना. हाँ. So Monkey 47 की वो दी. And the drink was great. He had these huge ice cubes that he used. I love huge ice cubes because it's just nice when it touches your lips when you're drinking like that.
At the same time, it's better for your drink because they dilute slower. So your drink is more consistent.
Not the smaller the ice cube, the more it's going to dilute the drink.
Correct. Like a lot of people, I'm just going to touch on this because a lot of people hate on this. When bartenders put a lot of ice in your drink, it's not like they want to give you less drink.
Yeah, तुम्हें ठंडे से मारना चाह रहे हैं नहीं.
ऐसा नहीं है. Like I understand some people feel it's too cold to drink or whatever. But जो alcohol डालेगा उसमें 60 ही डालेगा. If it's not ice, you're drinking cola or soda.
It's not a scam.
Correct. It's not a scam. It's just that if you have a lot of ice in your drink, it will dilute slower. So the taste that the person, like जब तुम्हारे table पे आया है, you have a better chance of having the same taste till the end of your drink.
That's very interesting because I remember कि whenever I'm drinking with my friends, I always use the most amount of ice. And मैं बोलता हूँ मेरे को 5 या 6 cubes चाहिए. I want to fill it up to the brim. And I was like 1 cube दो, 2 cube दो. And then what happens is midway through I notice the ice has melted in their drink. Now they're drinking this flat shit. But I have that वो पूरा जो I can carry that experience longer.
Correct.
That's very interesting.
If you're drinking something carbonated, the ice will also trap the carbonation. So your drink will remain fizzy for longer.
Wow.
And again, like we were talking about this before also, if something is fizzy, it actually elevates your taste buds also. It kind of hits your taste buds with more flavor. Just try to have like Coca-Cola which is in the fridge but gone flat versus like which is carbonated. You will feel the difference.
Yeah, it's more enriching. बहुत ज़्यादा. But the story about going to this person's place and then them offering me this gin, they said that, is this okay? And and I drank it. अच्छा मुझे आदत नहीं है कि कोई किसी को बोले कि नहीं ये ठीक नहीं है. Right? So, and it was great, so I didn't say it. Then he said, usually people who drink always make sure that they tell the bartender exactly what they want and then modify the drink. ये मैंने पहले कभी सुना नहीं था, that you can actually, you taste something, you don't like it, you can get the alcohol modified. Is that?
Oh, absolutely. If the bartender is worth their salt, they will absolutely listen to your feedback. There are obviously like those this category of bartenders who kind of live in the same league as great chefs, where they're like, no, this is the experience I'm giving you. You're here for my experience.
Take it or leave it.
That. Like, again, not take it or leave it. Again, some people can be arrogant. That's up to personality. But they're like, I'm giving you a experience. You've come here to have a experience, right? That's one category of it. But in a normal bar, if you say that, hey, for me, this is a little too tart, like kuch zyada hi khatta ho raha hai, no person will say no to putting a little bit more sugar to balance it out. You're basically
or remaking the drink completely. That is also possible, ya nahi?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So again, like how it works behind the bar, at least how it did for us, is that if somebody is sending a drink back, you just say that this was waste and that's done. You're moving on, because aapko, like, sometimes rectifying a drink is more hectic than making a new one.
Also customer experience, because that person is going to leave with a bad taste in their mouth. So it's worth, like, because if you also want a repeat customer, no, you want them to keep coming back to your bar and keep enjoying it. But I think yahan pe, this is maybe like a social thing. People might do this with food, because more people consider themselves foodies than drinkers, right? So they might, yaar ye khana wapas leke jao, theek hai. Alcohol ke saath, they're like, arey yaar, ab yahi mili. And like I see people like, disappointingly sipping on something they don't like.
Yeah, that's just like really bad. So I had a similar experience. So we were talking about the Negroni, right? I had 6-7 friends at my home, and I knew that most of them have never tried anything like this. And I had just gotten a fresh bottle Campari. I was like, I'll make it for you. I am almost 70% sure that most of you won't like this, but give it a try. Like from the same thing that I was saying, no, give it a try. Let's see what your experience is like.
Right.
And like, we had 7 people, 5 people did not like it. So I was like, it's fair. Like, and I think at least most of the people I have met in the industry are coming from the same perspective that, hey, if you're open enough, I will try something with you. If you don't like it, I'll give you something that you like. That's always the thing. And the modification before the drink also, I think that's a very good strategy to play at a restaurant. Because if it's a new place, you don't know. My personal take is I will shut up and take it as to what they want to give me as an experience, just to know what this place is. I don't want to interfere with it. But if you exactly know what you want, you can tell a person that, hey, listen, I like my whiskey sours that are a little more tart. Don't push too much sugar in it. Don't put egg white in it. I kind of like it this way. And they will obviously make it that way. It's not too much of an inconvenience for them to sort of make it according to your standards. And like I said, again, a good bartender worth their salt understands that all palates are different. So what I might serve to you, you might enjoy, but your friend might not. So they respect that thing.
And are bar menus decided by the management, or are they decided by कोई popular जगह है इसका menu tape लेते हैं, copy कर लेते हैं?
That depends on the place.
And the third thing is, are they decided by the chief bartender or the mixologist?
Right. So one very good way of understanding whether this place is good or not is they won't have the restaurant manager deciding the bar menu. They'll have a bar manager deciding the bar menu.
Interesting.
There will be a head bartender or a bar manager. They have designed the cocktail. The entire cocktail menu, they have designed that thing. And I'm not just saying, like, for example, I was talking about these 3 legacy brands, right? So there are certain brands that will have contracts with these, like मैं Diageo bar हूँ, so I have to make sure that XYZ brand of alcohol moves this much every month. That's why I'm getting it at this price. So they will put it in a cocktail. So the way to design the cocktail menu is not just dependent on what the person will like. There are so many other things. I want to try my own creativity. These are the things that are in season that I can, match with this particular alcohol. And this is the amount of alcohol I want to sell to be profitable.
Right.
There is so much that goes into it. So if they have a bar manager, that means that place takes everything seriously because they've assigned a person who's responsible for this.
Right.
Right. Again, I'm not saying that if a place does not have a bar manager, they will not make good drinks. It's absolutely possible. In fact, I really think, making cocktails is like, you can start making very tasty drinks at home very easily. So for somebody to recreate it at a restaurant, they just need some amount of practice and they can do it well. Running a bar has a lot more to it. But the thing is then, like, the really good places will go so deep into these aspects that they will come out with something that you cannot make at home. Whether it be through equipment, through ingredients, or just through sheer creativity of mixing something else. So all of these things sort of like are your way to understand whether this place is of this category or of that category. If you understand, for example, there is no like specific, there's no house cocktails. It's just like उन लोगों ने डाल दिया कि एक मोहितो होता है, एक whiskey sour होता है, एक caipirinha होता है, and that's what they're doing. Then I will look on the menu and I'll be like, what is the simplest to make? In the sense, what is the least amount of ingredients?
What is one thing that cannot go wrong at all, basically, right? क्योंकि जितना simple है उतना easy है.
Correct.
If you have like 6 ingredients, you're bound to like feel like ये खराब हो सकती है.
That's why gin and tonic is very hard to get wrong. How can you fuck it up? It's
and you don't even need a
ingredients.
stirrer, right? For gin and tonic.
I mean, not that much, because like when you put something fizzy, like most of the bars, because they're busy, so they'll just be like, so everything kind of just mixes very well. Unless if they don't do that, you'll see it at good bars because there's so much ice. They'll put the alcohol and ice, and then when they're pouring, they'll pour very slowly. So the effervescence of the bubbles that stays, and they'll just put like one long bar spoon and they'll do this much, and that's it.
Yeah. What is the men and having wine with women on dates? Why can we not change the conversation around that? Like I know ki when men take women on dates, they're like, I think the woman likes red wine, so let me just drink red wine. And अब हम ऐसे ज़माने में रहते हैं where people can do better. Because I find that red wine, first of all, you don't even drink red wine. And neither does she. It's just this social custom कि हम साथ बैठे हैं तो चलो wine पीते हैं, right?
Yeah.
People end up ruining their experience.
But I don't think you should, like, I mean, anybody should sort of hate on those people. Because
I'm not hating on them.
No, in the sense that यहाँ पे लोग बढ़ जाएंगे. There will be people who'll say that, yeah, I used to go on dates like 5 years ago and I used to do all of these things. I can't do it anymore. I am good with my whiskey. Like, it could be one of those. Or it could be the start of a journey of saying, oh my God, what the fuck is wine? I'm so interested in this. Like, that crucial point of, even if you started, for whatever reason you started, like again, we were talking about that rites of passage, right?
Right.
You started drinking because you want to hang out with your friends, that's more or less it. You just want to have a great time. Whatever be the reason, the direction that you take from there is what is going to define your experience.
Your alcohol journey.
Yeah. And again, like, forget alcohol. Think about music, think about food,
Correct.
Think about in any sense. Like, if a person has not made the effort to develop the taste. If somebody's tried to listen to Mozart, tried to listen to gully rap, and then, come back and said, nahin yaar, I like Udit Narayan. I will have respect for this person because you at least tried it out. You understood what is your taste.
Yeah. It's like when एक वो हुई थी, there was a race between Ganesh and Kartike, and the race was like who will go around the world, right? So Kartike went around the world thrice, and Ganesh was right here. It's like, why? Oh, mere maa baap hi mere world hai. So the point is, but he really had to go around the world to sort of understand ki kya hai. And I think that, for example, changing it a little bit up, let's talk about beers, because there's something about beers that represents youth. ठीक है?
That's fair.
I see few older people still do it.
Yeah.
And then in beers also एक सवाल आ जाता है, for example, कि I've heard this in Haryana ठेकास में, I don't know how true it is here in Mumbai, कि a lot of beers, especially IMFL, or like even domestic beers, sometimes tend to have glycerin in them.
Oh. Okay.
Have you heard of that?
I mean, like,
जो वो थोड़ी सी वो मिलावट सी हो जाती है ना, to
it's not, I don't know about that particular ingredient, glycerin किस लिए डालते हैं, but a lot of times there are so many artificial flavorings that let's say a cheaper strong beer will add just so that they can give it at a certain price but still make it strong, and the color is still like a certain thing. Like a lot of whiskeys will have artificial coloring, a lot of good whiskeys will also have artificial coloring. Because you have a certain perception. Like one of my favorite whiskeys, Ardbeg, if you look at it in a glass, it's a completely dark bottle in the whiskey bottle. But if you look at it in glass, you'll be like, this is very light whiskey. But when you drink it, that's not the experience. So coming back to beer, in terms of those ingredients, a lot of people do this to kind of sometimes make the beer stronger, or like, add some facet to it, or color, or like, certain mouth feel, because do you understand mouthfeel, by the way, or I can give a quick explanation?
please.
So when you drink water, it just goes through. When you drink milk, you feel like it's coated your mouth.
Correct.
So water is light-bodied, milk is heavy-bodied. Correct. This is something that, how you explain wines, especially reds. Is it light-bodied or heavy-bodied, and what do you enjoy out of the two? So similarly, sometimes, maybe, I'm assuming glycerin might actually be added into the thing to give a certain mouth feel of that beer. It could be any of those things. I'm particularly
you're hypothesizing. You're not sure about this, huh?
Like, for example, a lot of strong beers will have extra sugar added to it.
Okay.
Extra sugar, because yeast is going to ferment alcohol based on the sugar quantity of what your spirit is. So, what your liquid is. So, a lot of strong beers will have more sugar in it, and that does not necessarily translate into the best taste. Like, for example, I love Bira Boom. It's a strong beer, but it's
I love
so
it too.
amazing.
It's my favorite Bira, yeah.
Correct. And there are some more. There's a brand from Punjab. I'm kind of forgetting their name. It's got a blue can. It's very beautiful. I've had that.
White
Very
Owl?
nice. No, White Owl is not from Punjab, is it?
Okay.
I think it's from like Delhi NCR only, White Owl.
Okay.
And again, like, of course, you go to like craft breweries, they'll also have like a lot of strong beers. They are not necessarily trying to balance price. They're giving you the best flavor for what they can give. But yeah, like, there are always shortcuts that sort of people take in the alcohol space.
What is it about Corona Extra that somehow why does it feel like the premium beer when you go to buy? मतलब हो सकता है कि again it comes down to subjective experiences of beer, right? When I was growing up, I was told कि अगर आपको beer पीनी है, ये ठर्रे वाली beer मत पियो, Kingfisher या Tuborg, right? Because they're associated with this heaviness. That I think the Coronas are quite light.
Oh, you know, that brings up like a really good point in my head. Like Corona, like, it's not like that's the only light beer, right? But it was one of the first light beers that came to India.
Okay.
So there's one moment of truth that you're having when you consume the product. You know, you're suddenly like, hey, that's a little different. Bira did it really well, like we were talking about. But when you first had Corona, you were like, this is not like what I'm usually drinking. That's the first thing. Secondly, Corona's marketing for the longest amount of time, Corona Sundowners, Corona Sunsets, the kind of gigs, you know, the kind of promoters they'll have, like, you know, the marketing people on ground, they'll wear hats, they look cool. So they've always built certain things around to make it a little bit more premium. I don't think the cost of making Corona is going to be much different from the cost of making a Kingfisher. That's not there. In fact, like, one sort of tradition is that Corona bottles are given to you with a wedge of lime on top.
I was going to say that, yes.
Right. I'll tell you why they do that. So, you must have seen that a lot of beer bottles are brown, amber, like they say.
Yes,
right?
correct.
Corona is not.
Coronas are transparent, probably the only ones, I'd say.
So, there's actually a negative to that, because if you keep beer through direct sunlight, this is why they have green or brown bottles. If direct sunlight hits it, then it starts smelling stale. It'll start smelling like somebody's basement very quickly. So Corona did not start the tradition that you serve it with lime in it. But a lot of bars in Mexico, because it would smell like that, so what they would do, if you put a lime on it, तो एक तो आपने थोड़ा सा स्क्वीज कर दिया, करेक्ट, और आपके बॉटल का जो माउथ है उसके ऊपर थोड़ा सा कोट हो गया, right, like how you rim a particular glass when you
margarita या shots,
so that's basically a garnish, right? What the garnish does is that the first thing when you lift the bottle, you're smelling the lime. You are cutting down on that entire bad foul smell which might have happened because किसी ने कोरोना थोड़ा ज़्यादा देर के लिए धूप में रख दी, or even like while they were transporting, they used a certain kind of truck and the sunlight hit it. So that's where the tradition came in, and the company, for all its worth, they took the thing and they were like, this is how we will serve our beer now.
That's fascinating.
That's amazing. One of my flatmates in Frankfurt, Corona is made by this company, Grupo de Melo. I mean, now they've been taken over by somebody else, but he won a scholarship from Grupo de Melo. Like B school में जो competitions होते हैं ना, वो जीता था from Grupo de Melo, and that's why he knew so much about the company. The company had sent him to Europe on an all expense 3-year thing. जाके पढ़ाई करो, तुम्हारा expense भी हमारा, जाके मजे करो.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, right? Yeah. In fact, Bira also at one point, like I remember discussing this idea with somebody. I don't remember this guy's name, but he was such an amazing marketer. Bira at one point had some issues with like residue in the beer. beer में थोड़ा solids मिलना, it's not a bad thing. But because
so what do you mean solids? Like just
you will have some like sort of bulbs. How do I explain this? It's almost like there is in the liquid there are some dots that you see. You feel like okay, for example, Mogu Mogu mein there's coconut, right?
Correct.
So you will see something like that and you're like, oh, this does not feel right. This is bad. It's not the thing. Like it depends on how the process was. Like there are a lot of beers will have residue. A lot of wines will also have residue. So Bira had this problem around like 2015 or 16, I want to say. And I was talking to this one guy who was at that point starting in Mica, and he was like, bro, I want to fucking work with Bira. I have this amazing idea. This is how I'm going to crack my interview. I hope you made it to Bira. He was like, what I'll do is we'll make limited edition bottles of Bira that are clear like Corona. And it will be only served at a good bar, you know, like the beer factories or whatever at that point used to be. They were like only served at that particular thing. And what you will do is that when you order that beer, you get it, you drink that beer in the bottle, not in a particular glass. Once you're done, the server takes the bottle. There's a glass cutting machine. So again, making a glass cutting machine is not difficult for Bira as a branded thing. They make that, they cut the glass, and then you take that bottle home.
I saw that with Absolute also abroad. Absolute ने करा था bunch of other brands. In fact, then this was given as an offering gift shops वगैरह के अंदर where they would glass cut it and give it to you.
Correct. So like for me to come across that idea, this guy was like, again, I'm not taking any credit for this, like somebody else told me, and he was like, this is how you do disaster management in alcohol, and I was like, this is such an amazing idea.
Right. Also you can, I mean, this is wonderful for those people क्योंकि ना एक college के अंदर I remember या तो हम fraternity हमने अपनी खुद की शुरू करी थी, तो I remember we used to go to other fraternity houses, and जहाँ पे kitchen पे wherever they could find an empty space, they would have all the bottles of alcohol they've drunk, and they would make sure कि it's not just never cans.
Yeah.
बड़े rules थे उसके अंदर. Never cans, never a bottle repeating more than once.
Okay.
Beers are given the least status, so वो start उधर से होता है, and then it moves on. And my roommate, he was a big Soviet Russia fan. तो वो कुछ ऐसी स्पेशल लाइक अराक करता था वो, और 3-4 और ऐसी रशियन that you could only find at specific Russian alcohol stores and all. So all the exotic alcohols were at the end. Your standard college staples like Kraken or ये और भी Swetka वगैरह, you know, because what they do in colleges in the US is एक बड़े से tub में, it's a frat party, all of it is happening illegally by the way, right? And all of these kids are like 18, 19, 20. They want to serve alcohol to anyone who can pay $5 or get enough ratios right and get in. So Poland Spring is the company that makes the majority, जैसे यहाँ पे Aquafina या Kent या वो सब है.
Right.
Poland Spring है. But Poland Spring also is a side business of making the worst vodka possible known to man and woman, right? It is literally like तुम thinner पी रहे हो.
Magic moments.
हाँ, magic moments, right?
No hate.
Yeah, but so you would get like $15 की एक बड़ी 1 लीटर की bottle.
Right.
You get 5 of those, right? You get या तो cranberry juice, the other main thing. And I remember literally मेरे सामने बाल्टी के अंदर 4-5 लोग खड़े होकर
Jamba juice.
Right?
That's a very popular trend on TikToks and all, because of spring break and everything.
हाँ.
Those are like its own category. Like, have you seen this YouTube channel called Tipsy the Bartender?
No, I haven't.
It's a black dude who gets a lot of like really nice looking women and they make the drinks for him, and he's just sort of taking them through how to make that particular drink. And he'll make these jamba juice sort of things where it's essentially a punch, but like they mix a lot of things, and the theatrics, the visual of, you know, just ऐसा bottle उल्टी कर दी और उसमें इतनी सारी चीजें जा रही हैं, you know, like you were saying, you cut up some oranges and everything you put in it. It looks visually so great, right? So that is its own.
How much of good bartending is
category.
theatrics? ये जो learn करना या वो जिगर या shaker के अंदर ऐसे करना.
Nah, so a good bartender is so much more than their drink or even flair. I mean, all respect to people who do flair, but that's
flair. What you're saying is showmanship.
Correct. That's considered as a flair bartending. It's its own thing, and that's putting on a show. But like that will not essentially translate into you having a great drink. See, the performance of something is absolutely important. You know, how you receive the drink. I'll give you one example. I was going to a really nice bar and I knew the cocktail that I wanted to have, and the garnish, the finishing thing of that drink was basically like we were talking about these big ice cubes, right? So the garnish of that drink is that on the big ice cube he just sprinkles some saffron.
Wow.
Right? And I was so excited by this that like beyond like just the garnish, like it was a drink made with Talisker. It had Jamaican shrubs in it, made with Jamaican rums, like very interesting stuff, like really strong, like charactered whiskey mixed with pomegranate and like really Caribbean flavors. So I was like, I want to have this drink. And I went there and then for some, like they were changing the bar menu that day. So the head bartender came and said that like I only have a few of these and I will not have the perfect drink, but I will make it for you, because we had some conversations before that also. And he said, I don't have the saffron garnish, I don't have the saffron itself, but what I'll do is I'll put a cinnamon stick and something more on this. So what he did is he put a stick on it, he flamed it, so I could smell cinnamon, and then on the flame he sprayed a saffron spray.
Wow.
Right. So what happened was, it's a completely dark bar, you know, there are spotlights. So what he did is that I am looking at him. I'm sitting right at the bar. I am looking at him. You know, he's made the entire drink. Now I'm waiting that, okay, now I will get the drink. But then he waits and he takes a cinnamon stick out of somewhere, goes a little back and he starts flaming the thing. So that, you know, I'm now waiting more and more, because I know my drink is ready. Correct. My drink is ready, but I want this. And he's doing that. And as soon as he sort of flames it, I can smell cinnamon in the room. Right. So now I'm just even more engaged. And then he puts it on my thing. Obviously, I'm going to put that thing aside as soon as I want to drink it, because it must be hot. I can't drink with the stick on top of the glass. And then under my light, when he sprays that perfume of saffron, so right in front of my face, I've seen this beautiful visual of droplets just going on that thing, and then I'm hit with the smell of saffron. So these are also theatrics. You don't need to flip bottles just to do that,
right?
You know, and theatrics, the presentation of the drink is equally important, you know. Correct. Like again, like how we talked about Corona, the first thing you smelled was lime. You associated with like a summer drink suddenly. You don't know why. I, for example, again, like the conversation I had after that was that I was like, bro, this is taking me back for Kesar milk, because saffron, right? We have that association. And then that guy just stopped everything that he was doing and he talked to me. He was like, oh my God, I've always thought about saffron as this intense spice. You know, I've put it on cinnamon. For white people, again, this is going to be like some intense spice. And I am telling him about this milk that is sweet and really
saffron, turmeric are a part of our culture.
Correct. Yeah. So I am looking at it so differently. I am now having my childhood memories merge into alcohol, and he is having the understanding that, okay, it's not just the palate, but the culture that this person represents is so different that he's having a different connection with the drink than I even intended.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That was one of my best bar nights, by the way. That guy, he's still like on my Instagram. He follows me. I wish him on every World Bartender Day. He's not even a bartender now. He's the chef now. But I still wish him on every World Bartender Day. Like, hey man, thanks for this one.
You always appreciate craftsmen, like true craftsmen.
Correct. Like even in music, for example, like if you see music live, you know, like forget like listening to it on your headphones. Even if you don't understand it, if you don't understand classical music, or Western classical, Indian classical, or whoever, or even forget all of that. Like you go to a rock concert for the first time and you see that guy shredding on the guitar. You don't understand what's happening.
I've cried in guitar solos. I cry all the time.
You see that craft.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, you've touched something in me. There's some frame of mind that you've sort of unlocked in my thing right now that I have respect for what you do.
Yeah.
That's where it comes down to.
I saw Robert Plant live from Led Zeppelin. This is I made pass, you know, when you just come to college, so you're not sure what your budget is, so you spend on all stupid things. First year I figured that he was coming to Boston. He's old, by the way. He's a new band now. But when he said, I've been ruling, or I have never hit a decibel so high, and I had literally had tears of joy. It was me, someone else, and all these old hippies. And it was just everything that you could ever dream of.
How big was it? Like, was it a really big concert?
Arena Nita. I would say it's probably like, you've got like 400, 500 people standing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the best way to experience any gigs, right?
Yeah.
Like just
Stadium gigs.
So intimate. You're right there. You can almost, if you go in the front enough, you will see the sweat on their fucking forehead.
Have you been to the Piano Man in Delhi? And
not to the Piano Man. No, not yet. But I mean, I enjoy gigs a lot, so I go very often, and I'm just a sucker for like a great gig.
Live music.
any sort of like live entertainment, what that can do. Like we were at that quizzing
with
show.
Kumar Varun, yeah.
Correct. That was amazing, right? Like that sort of an experience in a small room with 100-200 people. What you can have as a connect there is just, you can't recreate that. You can't.
Actually, pandemic, I think we've forgotten what it feels like to do these things. So I'm very glad that, the world has kind of moved, opened back up.
Yeah.
So you can be in these rooms. I remember like, there was a specific bar in Boston. It was called the Liberty Hotel. It was an atrium hotel, and ek to open bar hoti hai uppar, and niche they had this room that was like half Egyptian, half blue designs. Andar ek bar hai, bahar ek bar hai, and you would have all these 60-year-old rich men trying to hit on like college girls. Like it was just a bunch of sugar daddies, college girls who wanted to pay, and then boy toys and stuff. ये अजीब सा crowd है, but the drinks are probably some of the best I've ever had.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the hell is happening here?
Yeah.
And as a result of having those drinks, I became okay with that lifestyle.
Right.
That probably would have never happened if I went to a local watering hole. Local watering hole का भी अपना मजा होता है.
Of course, dive bars are dive bars. Again, you can't, like, all of these are different experiences. Like, as much as we've spoken about, having differences with, like, different experiences with alcohol.
Right.
It's the experience around it. You're not just drinking for the sake of it, right?
Yeah, nothing beats janta, getting drunk
Exactly.
at janta,
you know, like, you're gonna have a very different experience there than what you might have, like, if you're just sipping on martinis and like a silo on the rooftop or something. And you gotta have both, right? You can't have one or the other. But like, it's very interesting that you spoke about it. Like, this is actually something which I now see is basically the trend that I love in the cocktail industry. I'm not even saying India. I'm saying across the world. This is what I'm seeing. The kind of experience that you spoke about, very old-timey and, sort of reserved and sort of closed into their own world. It almost feels like you stepped into the past. Speakeasies visually try to create that vibe, but a lot of speakeasies are also doing a great job of making it approachable. Like the experience that I told you about, of the
For context, what are speakeasies? I know.
Right. Okay. So again, speakeasies, again, something that was birthed during the Prohibition era in America. So because you couldn't serve alcohol legally, so there were a lot of places that were illegally serving alcohol, and you always needed a password, or you needed to know a friend of a friend, or you needed to be somebody famous to get into a place.
Yeah.
And those places were always called speakeasies. Literally what the word
Dheere baat karo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, speak easy about this thing.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, you were saying. The whole
again,
global cocktail industry.
So what I'm seeing is that, like, I think the current crop of, there are so many different awards that you can see. 50 best bars of the world, 50 best bars of Asia, and the 30 best bars that was for India. And there are so many other recognitions that people have. And the bars that I'm sort of seeing in these places, there's a section called the hotel bar. It's in that 5-star, and, everybody sort of looks like they're from a very different time altogether. And, they're serving the best martinis that you can have. But then the equal amount of competition is by these bars that are extremely casual. Like, you've been to Sidecar. Sidecar is not a very formal place. It's a very casual place.
Right.
But I would also recommend that at any point, if you're in Goa, next time you should go to Bar Tesoro. Bar Tesoro in South Goa. Sogo represent. And these places are so casual. People are just looking at things very differently, and nothing is intimidating when you're at that place. The experience that you were saying, that, like, I don't understand. There will be a bar person who will come at your table and will take you through everything. They will explain what the drink is. There are also, again, formal ways of doing this. Like, there is a place in Bombay called the Living Room, which is speakeasy at the Mask Restaurant. Mask Restaurant is, again, like a fine dining experience.
You and Prerna mentioned that Soul Fry the other night. Yeah,
and Living Room, the people sort of run the bar program there are mad scientists. They will come and explain the drink to you for like 15 minutes, not in a way that you will feel bored, but again, it's that level of craft. You suddenly hit.
They love what they do.
Correct. And even if you don't understand the technicalities, first of all, I would recommend go with a bar person. If somebody knows the technical stuff, then those people will feel more open to have a conversation. Even if not, still go. They will still talk to you. They are always appreciative of a guest who wants to understand what the process is. This is how I've sort of started in my careers also. Like I've just gone and asked like, how do you do this? I've read up about a certain person's experience. So like how they explain their process to you, it just makes you appreciate that craft so much more, and you so much more connected. And this is what I see in the new crop of global bars, that they're just making it so much more approachable. There are brands that are supporting this cause also. They're taking themselves very very lightly on Instagram.
बड़ी problem होती थी पहले, because you remember, like, at least the way I saw it, very rich people, especially who were old money, only they could know how to hold a glass, how to order certain things. Even if you're born into wealth or not, you would look at ye fancy cocktails as something that is not in your world, even if you have the purchasing power.
No, I understand. Like even just like somebody who holds a glass like this versus somebody who holds a glass like this, you suddenly see it.
You're conscious all the time. You can't have fun. Like like, okay, bro, isko na aise pakadna hota hai. It's just, you're right. The posturing has begun to go away.
But again, like, how long is that conversation? In the sense, like, for example, I'll tell you right now, okay, let's just do this. So one, why do you hold a glass not like this and like this? Because if you hold it, your hand is warm, so the wine will get warmer. If you hold it like this, there's a stem. That's the normal route.
Style marne ke liye nahi hai.
Correct. There's a stem here, so hold it like this, in the sense that your liquid in this will not get warmer. How long was that conversation? 20 seconds. It's just the feeling it gives you is like somebody corrected your grammar. That's why you don't like it. You're like, अरे मुझे क्यों सिखा रहा है?
नहीं मेरे को तो पसंद है.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, generally the reaction is that. So again, like I was saying, there are a lot of people who are making it accessible, right? A lot of people are ditching these glasses, and there are wine stemless glasses. They're like, hold it like this. No, ऐसा ही glass है, now hold it like this. So it's not like the industry is not picking up these facts.
Right.
A lot of wine sommeliers that you will talk to, they will come across as the hoity-toity person that you just cannot connect with. But if you start having that conversation, they will be the most approachable people.
Correct.
Completely. Because at the end of the day, they want to get more people interested in wine. Simple. Like, forget everything else. Like, that's why, again, the whiskey that you like is the whiskey that you like. The way you like to drink it is the way you like to drink it. It's just that there are so many ways to do it. So try something else out.
It's also a great thing. I remember, मतलब अपनी एक personal कहानी बताऊँ तो I always go try a new product, and then I'm the salesman. I sell it everywhere I can to all my friends.
Right.
And then anyone who's even, अच्छा इसमें और क्या होता है बताना जरा, I go all in, like whatever I know. And then when we have that
Did
drink,
you have that with music?
Music always, all the time.
So that's where it started.
It's a personality type.
It's a personality type. Yeah. Absolutely.
Same with coffee. I've put my friends, everyone was drinking Nescafes or chai, or not drinking and suffering to drinking Red Bulls.
Yeah.
80% of my closest friends drink Araku, Sabko,
I like that you were saying suffering with Red Bull.
Because again, pata kya hai? You want a caffeine kick.
Right.
You think Red Bulls are the way to go, and you sort of think that, maybe iska taste bura hai, that's the way it's supposed to be. Coffee looks too distant to you.
Yeah.
Also, people believe that coffee garam pini chahiye. Goes out the window once you realize you can put ice into it. So there's so many ways.
Yeah.
I've done that a lot with my coffee, and now my next goal is to do the whiskey. So when I go to purchase whiskey, they have this whole imported section hota hai. And what I always do is, whenever I can, I go pick up a whiskey. But like जो alcohol store owners होते हैं, nothing against them. उनको इतना नहीं पता होता, they're more to sell. But whatever I can ask, I read. I'm like, let's go try this.
But that's also changing, by the way. A lot of wine stores, like for example here locally,
यहाँ तो बहुत अच्छा है. But
so a lot of wine stores, I've seen this in Delhi also.
Okay.
They will have one person, if they kind of can read that your budget is XYZ, they will send that person to you. In the sense that they will have a conversation with you, and if they understand कि ये थोड़ा ज़्यादा intrusive हो रहा है, इसको एक पेटी Glen pack कर दो. If it's that guy, then they leave him alone.
Right.
But they will at least have a person ready to come and help you.
I only saw it in duty frees before, because duty free वालों को वो करना ही होता है ना. As far as Swami is concerned, now why is it that some part of India and some stores like 24/7 have Schweppes, not Swami, have Swami, not Jade Forest. Like ऐसा, are there ये shelving का जो ये deal होता है, how does it happen? Like,
I mean, this is more like, this is sort of getting into the sort of trade part of it. Like, the trade marketing is completely different. Again, like for example, the other brands that you sort of spoken of, वो सारे Delhi based हैं.
okay,
And there
okay.
is a certain home ground advantage, you know, like they
Okay.
know people who know people.
So you
who
guys
know
are probably
people.
stronger here in Mumbai.
Yeah, we are very strong in Bombay. We're very strong in Goa also. Delhi also not bad. I personally think we're giving them enough competition. And like again, like things can be different, you know. Like the thing is, this entire space is so new.
It is new, yeah, super new.
दुकानदार को समझने के लिए भी you have to send a person who's going to talk to
Can I
them.
stop you and tell you a story? So about this, ये दुकानदार वाली बात. Where I live, I'd gone to purchase tonic water. अब वहाँ पे क्या होता है? So know this that Schweppes के आते हैं ginger ale and tonic water कम. Ginger ale ही आता है, club soda आता है, tonic water कभी-कभी आता है, correct? Tonic water बिल्कुल फ्रिज के पीछे था जहाँ पे उसके ऊपर रस्ट वगैरह लगी हुई थी from all the things that had fallen down. I needed this because there was no one else to go. It was closed. मैंने कहा टॉनिक वाटर कहते पता नहीं क्या है, मैंने खुद स्पॉट कर लिया. जैन माई हैंड इनसाइड, गॉट इट आउट, एंड अ गुड, दिस इज हाउ यू नो अ गुड शॉपकीपर, लाइक इसको क्या करते हैं इसका. वहाँ पे सारे दूध लेने वाले लोग, फैमिली वाले लोग, यू नो लाइक ऐसे. अब मैं उनको ये इजोटेरिक बात बताऊँ, एंड आई लिव इन अ टियर 1 टियर 2 सिटी, और हम लाइक देखो ऐसा है, एक ड्रिंक आती है जिन नाम की, उस जिन के साथ इसको पीते हैं, ठीक है. कहते हैं अच्छा कौन लेता है, मैंने कहा जो पीने वाले हैं वो लेते हैं. अच्छा ठीक है, इसको स्टॉक करा ले, मैंने कहा करा लो. सो आई फाइंड दैट ये टॉनिक की पर्टिकुलरली कैटेगरी ना इज स्टिल न्यू. पीपल स्टिल अंडरस्टैंड जिंजर एल क्या है, क्लब सोडा क्या है. टॉनिक इज स्टिल sort of like finding its way in India.
Right, because again, like tonic water is slightly bitter. I mean, there is a good amount of sugar in tonic water, so a lot of the new age brands, including us and a few more good ones, they're always looking at sugar content ko low kaise kare while balancing the taste. But this aspect that you're talking about is something that every salesperson in my team and any person who sort of is working in this space goes through. You know, you have to explain to that person. And then the thing is, like, because there are so many new brands, so the shopkeepers are also understanding कि कुछ तो हो रहा है. You know, like I won't name the store here, but it's actually very close by. And that store has 3 different tonic water branded on their doors.
What?
Because they've bought space, including us. We've bought space so that like 3 महीने के लिए हम लोगों का यहाँ पे branding चिपकेगा. And it's very close to my home, so I went in and I saw something new. It was Nordic tonic water.
Wow.
Yeah, they have birch करके एक trunk होता है, like of a tree.
I know the birch tree, yeah.
So it had birch in it, and I was like, suddenly like, first of all, Nordic, I've never heard of this, and then there is some earthy birch in this, so I was like, I had to try. And this was again expensive, like 210 for one bottle, compared to like, let's say a Schweppes is 50, Swami and everything else is like 85, 80, somewhere in that space. So 210 is like a big jump, right? So I still bought it. And now obviously all the people in the store understand what tonic water is, right? Because bahar 3-4 branding lagi hai, that means enough people have come and spoken to you. But when I put it, and he doesn't know that I work for Swami, he was like, sir, ye kya hota hai? He asked it from the perspective of genuinely giving me no context that he has, just asking me, what the fuck are you going to do with this? And I said, oh, this is like tonic water. You can drink it by itself. You can have it with gin. काफ़ी सारे लोग कॉफ़ी के साथ पीते हैं ये वो. तो सर आप किसके साथ पीते हो? And I didn't want to say gin, so I said I drink it with coffee because I just wanted to see if I fuck up that cycle of him getting that feedback, what is he going to tell other people?
Wow. And what happened?
I mean, of course, like all of that conversation goes, right? So now if I tell him, like if my salesperson goes to that store and tells him, okay, you know, put cold brew that's in your fridge right next to this tonic water, that'll be good. He will have some context that, oh, this person drinks it with coffee. Kuch log peete hain, so I don't mind putting it next to each other.
Yeah, it's like rolling papers also. You know?
Correct.
Same thing. Matlab and I'm saying this from personal experience. 4 or 5 years ago, if you would go to purchase rolling papers, irrespective of what you do with them, right? You can roll cigarettes.
Yeah.
People did not know about them. They didn't have them. They didn't have them loose. Just like itni sari hazaro companies aa gayi hain, right? Like and now wherever I go, Mumbai, Delhi, you look at the streets and you'll know from the trash what the population is doing, right? कि केला रखा है, नारियल रखा है, या rolling paper है.
Started कि मतलब where is the roach?
Right,
they look for the roach.
Right, correct. So, but I've seen how pervasive it's become that every shopkeeper, every कोके वाला knows what it is and knows कि कौन सा आता है, brown आता है, white आता है, कैसा आता है, perforated लेना है.
Correct.
And I'm like, this is amazing. It's so. I think what it is doing is when Indians desire more from their pleasures, you get better products. You get better products, you also educate the sellers. As a result, their lifestyle also upgrades as a result.
This literally goes to the same point of the bartender telling you drink Stranger in Son's gimlet. It's like all of these people are basically our trade ambassadors. You know, if the shopkeeper tells you, okay, sir, ये मत लेके जाओ, ये ज़्यादा चलता है. Like just as simple as that, if you just say कि ये चलता है कि नहीं चलता, they're like ये ज़्यादा चलता है, ये नहीं चलता, you will trust that person. And again, like, you know, all these panwadis also, they'll be like, अरे सर ये कुछ नया आया है, इसमें 3 ही है, लेके जाओ. It's always that. And again, the companies are also telling them, just have this one conversation.
Bro, some of the stuff on it, twice a day, thrice a day, like habit formation products, like, you know, get the fuck out of here, like वो बता रहे हैं कैसे करना है. Oh, why don't you start a blog? You're so articulate about all the things you talk about.
Bro, I've written blogs. It's not like I haven't tried.
Oh,
like,
you have?
I have written. Like I mean, I really like writing. It's in its way of like sharpening your thinking, right?
Correct.
Like, you kind of put it down, you know, like, no, that's not how I want to sound. Like that's what comes across. So I've written for a very long time, and I like in my creative pursuits, I feel I'm a writer first. Like, I can do that even if nothing else exists. I will do that first.
Right.
Like in fact, even at Swami, it's a very small team. Like everything you see written is 1 or 2 people in the team that have written it.
You guys use Notion? Do you have a style guide?
No, so we've tried a couple of different things. Most of it, like we use Slack in our office, and we tried Monday, we tried Notion. But the thing is, we know okay, there are 6 people in the team who will be on this, and the rest of them will not care.
Yeah.
And that
we're still not on Notion, right? You guys try to use Notion. I still can't get my head around it.
So again, like I'll tell you now with like when I entered Swami. So again, like you know, ऐसा होता है कि आप नई क्लास में जा रहे हो तो नई बुक लेके जाओगे, right? नए जॉब में जा रहे हो नई बुक लेके जाओगे. So when I joined Swami, I started this new habit. My typewriter, my thinking voice is in Google Keeps.
I see.
Because post-its. Right.
Okay.
Post-its पे आप कुछ भी लिख दोगे. अब इतना सा लिखना है ना, it's that much space. So you're like, that's my thinking voice. और फिर वो rough book से अगर मेरे को proper copy में लिखना है तो मैं Google Docs में डालूंगा. And when I'm on Google Docs, I will tag my, my colleagues and be like, give me feedback on this.
That's crazy. So I didn't think about this. I think my thinking voice is primarily long, thought out journals. Because I've just filled journals all my life. I think in very long sentences.
Is it like a daily practice for you?
More or less. I try to keep it up.
Like you've done it for long enough that it doesn't need to be daily for you.
No, exactly. That as well. But it's very interesting that this thinking voice is what you are most primed to do. Like I know some people think in bullet points. They always like 1, 2, 3, ऐसे बात करते हैं. Very interesting. Are there any cool Indian alcohol and bar/writers या pages or even YouTube things that you recommend? Like ये conversation तो है ही that
YouTube तो absolutely I would recommend. So there are a couple of people, in fact like the Indian alcohol YouTube space is very nice. One that we work with, and like I've been a fan of him like even before I joined Swami. His name is Manish Bhatia, MB's Man Cave. Yeah. So MB's Man Cave, I love how he's just himself. He's not putting on any show. आपको वीडियो से ही पता चल जाएगा कि this is such a real person, and the way he talks about alcohol kind of carries the same passion that other people sort of talk about alcohol or making it. So he talks with like an immense amount of respect. Even with respect, it's not like a sommelier. So he will again say like I told you at the end of his video is like pio bencho pio. So and he will fucking drink bagpiper also. He will drink Royal Stag also. He will make a funny video कि अरे सलमान भाई अगर दारू पियेंगे तो उनके घर में शायद ये हो रहा होगा. So he'll do all of those things, but at the same time he understands that his mission of making this YouTube, like he runs a digital marketing agency. This is completely his full
passion project. Yeah, that's why Man Cave.
Correct, exactly. And like he told me the origin story also when I met him like 2 weeks ago. He's like, my wife gifted me something that just says MB's Man Cave because she was like, hey, you need to have your own space in the house. And then from it, he kind of drew this entire thing that, okay, here is this place where I can pursue my own passions. And then he's so passionate and he's so, the conversations are so ground level, so you don't feel intimidated at all.
English हिंदी में बात कैसे?
हिंदी
में हाँ हिंदी में बोल रहे हैं आज हम कंपारी बना रहे हैं.
हाँ मतलब वो कंपारी खुद तो नहीं बना रहे बट हाँ कॉकटेल बना रहे हैं. आज हम पान फ्लेवर्ड कॉकटेल बनाएंगे.
Crazy.
He's this amazing, like I'm sure everybody who watches him will enjoy the personality. At the same time, there's nothing that he kind of goes like off from. आपको कुछ ऐसा हार्ड सेल कहीं नहीं लगेगा कि लाइक ही इज जस्ट ट्राइंग टू से दिस के ब्रांड ने पैसा दे दिया तो फिर ये हो रहा है. None of that sort of feels. In fact, on his channel there was this inside joke also. So for the longest time, one of his sponsors was somebody who had written a book on the share market. And then there was like a full entire thing कि ये भाई ये इंसान exist ही नहीं करता, this sponsor does not exist, this book is something else, like it took its own life, that this character is something that he is made to sort of, you know, put it into all of his videos, which is not true. There actually is a book, there's actually a person who's written on it, and that book is something you can buy on Amazon for $50.
Wow.
Right. So again, like it's a beautiful channel. There's another really fun channel called Dada Bartender.
Dada Bartender. Okay.
वो कैलकाटा से है. You will hear it as soon as he starts talking. He's so Bengali and at the same time so fun loving in the Bengali way. I don't know how else to sort of put it. You know, when Bengalis have fun, they have a certain tone, and he's just lovely with that. His channel is more focused towards cocktails, but then again like we were talking about Negronis. He will tell you how to make a cocktail with Old Monk, Hajmola and Thumbs Up.
What?
Right.
Hajmola cocktail.
Amazing guy. There is this there's this father son duo. They review whiskeys. That's the only thing they do. There's a father-son duo that will basically they will drink together, and because it's a father-son duo, so the son always asks कि पापा जी आपको कैसी लगी, कि आप क्या बोलोगे, आपके दोस्तों को कैसी लगेगी.
Crazy.
And they will drink like bro code or something, you know. So bro code is not something you will expect like a 60-year-old.
I think no one should drink bro code.
Correct. I also agree. Like let's not go there also. But then again, like, so that father and son conversation of having a drink is something that you see on their channel.
A lot of kids, guys in India want that. They want to have a drink with their father.
When did you have your drink with your father for the first time?
I can't reveal that on camera.
Okay, I'm gonna sort of go in. I asked because I kind of wanted to like touch upon this also. So I told you I used to work at a bar.
Right.
I come from Gujarat, so never spoke about alcohol at home. And then when I was working at a bar, I'm like, okay, I have to tell at home I work at a bar, and I told my father, and then I just saw a completely different side of him, which made me understand that back in his day, he was the bar person for his friends. Like
That's
he was the
crazy.
person who would be like,
आप पुछते नहीं है अल्कोहल की दुनिया के हो.
maybe he was the person who would be like कि आज रम लाए हैं, रम को इस चीजों के साथ पिएंगे. And then it unlocks such a beautiful different side of the relationship with my father. So again, like just to sort of say this, if you've never had this conversation with your father, if you have like slight inkling, अगर घर में bottle है जो आपने चुरा के कभी पी है, तो have that conversation.
Yeah, no, that I've done. And I was always told कि you are going to experiment whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Laws एक चीज़ है, इंसान अपने हिसाब से कुछ ना कुछ बुड़पंगे करता ही करता है. आप उसे रोक नहीं सकते. आप कह सकते हो हर्प नहीं होती है. The good thing he did is like have it with me. If that falls onto deaf ears is a separate thing.
Correct.
But knowing that I had that in the back of my head, you know, was in fact at a specific age, which I will not reveal, I figured out a way to get all my friends alcohol.
Right.
I went to this बढ़िया एक जगह and they were like, यार आप थोड़े अंडरएज लग रहे हो, हम आपको ना सर्व नहीं कर सकते हैं.
अच्छा.
अरे सर आप ऐसे करके मैंने कुछ सिस्टम सेट कर लिया. So the only alcohol in that party, and I'm not telling the age for more mystery.
Correct.
ठीक है. They had Coronitas Light. This was a hotel in Faridabad. Corona की type की होती Coronitas Light.
Okay.
So I drank it.
हाँ.
And when you don't know how to drink, you get drunk. You know, but it's beer drunk. So the harm is minimal, right? The harm is minimal. Like 4 or 5 beers down, मतलब ठीक है. But your parents are used to seeing you sober. And you're not used to seeing yourself drunk. So I'm thinking ये पार्टी के अंदर ना हम सारे होंगे, बढ़िया अपना खाना वाना लगाए. It's going to be a good night. I'm going to be remembered as the kid who got all of us वो किसी तरह से करके.
आज तो set.
आज set है. My family shows up. You know, क्योंकि मेरा birthday है. They all came. अब वहाँ से वो आ रहे हैं. मैं अपने दोस्तों कह रहा हूँ मेरे को थप्पड़ मार मैं कुछ कर पानी कह रहा है ये दाल चावल खा ले. Like just again like you don't know what to do. I will never forget till this day. And this is when I had all the respect and love for my father. Ab obviously I'm staggering as I'm walking, but in my head I'm like nahi I can handle it, you know, like. And so if I go on this table and I put my elbow down like this. So he was sitting on a sofa. We'd hidden all the alcohol in that particular venue.
Right.
मैंने अपनी कोनी लगाई, मेरी कोनी अंदर गिर गई.
Oh my God.
मेरे पापा ने मेरे को सिर्फ एक बात बोली. He looked at me.
This epic
He saw me. I had chin fuzz. I didn't have a beard. He's like, थोड़ा खाना खा ले, बैलेंस हो जाएगा.
A1 advice.
है ना?
Amazing.
Whatever.
Amazing.
So I think that if your family is okay with it and you know you have someone in your family who does it responsibly, of course, right?
I mean, chappal mat khana घर जाके ये वैसा नहीं advice दे रहे हैं, but if you think it's possible, have that conversation.
Right, because usually, I mean, this is ये ऐसी वाली चीज़ है कि अब तो it's changing because you know dads are also more metropolitan.
Right.
Lives have changed. India is progressing in general, but generally Indian fathers are considered to be aloof and silent, and many are able to see a part of their fathers when they drink. So after a certain एक rite of passage ये भी होता है कि having a drink with your dad and having welcomed into the world of men, you know, from the world of boys, where you're like कि एक beer छुपके से पी ली, like that, to like come have a drink with me, we'll talk. It's just it's a rite of passage. If your father drinks, you know, that is.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if everything goes well, you might just hear a story that will make you see your father in such a different light. You know, like, I'm not saying this happened because of alcohol, like, but there were...
It's relaxation, no?
It is.
Free of inhibition,
but sometimes, like, I mean, again, like, I was, again, one of those very angry teenagers, just, like, listening to death metal and, like, nahin, everything shit, like, hate family, ye, wo. And my father was also, like, he had his business in a different state. So he would... for a certain period of my life, he wasn't living with us in the sense that he would come once in 2 months and then we would spend some time, or we would go there or something like that. And then much later, when we started having, like, once the conversations were different, then I got to hear some stories from my father that just made me think that, hey man, I would have done exactly the same thing. Exactly, this is what I would have done. This is how I would have seen the situation. This is what I would have enjoyed also. So, like, perhaps it's not about the conversations you'll have with alcohol. It's just that once that door is open, then your father would like to share some cool stuff that he's done with his life. Yeah,
it's all. I think it's not alcohol. It's really, let's be okay with sharing our imperfections. Let's stop this whole idea कि मैं बाप हूँ और तुम बेटे हो. I'm just going to show you the human I am, and I expect the same. And this is where this much fabled equality between father and son begins to come in, when you start seeing each other as people,
right,
as opposed to ये इनका एक role है, ये पिता है, ये बेटा है, you know, ऐसे ही होता है ना.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we as people evolve so much, so like all our relationships evolve so much, so your relationship with your parents also has to evolve at some point.
I usually through activities like that, which often seem daunting to you कि यार मैं ऐसा कर रहा था, but it, you know, it brings good possibilities, and I'm blessed that things have taken this place, and you know that maybe in some way sharing a drink with your father also becomes a way of knowing him. That for at least I'll say कि I remember even when I was growing up, my father used to be busy all the time, right? He would always be working and stuff, but at nights I would see him and sometimes he would have a drink, right? And in those times हमेशा पैसे मांगना तभी जाता था. By the way, this is a perfect, like, you know, vulnerable spot to ask for money. कल मेरा Scholastic का book fair लग रहा है, एक 540 रुपए का check बना के दे सकते हैं. I want to buy these 3 books. But yeah, fun times. Bro, you're absolutely brilliant at what you do.
Thanks, man.
I just
same as you, man. Like, obviously Dostcast has been fucking flourishing. 69K subscribers.
तो आज ही हो गया था.
Fucking cheers to that.
Thank you, bro. Dostcast to the moon. But no, I really mean it. 2.5 hours or 2 hours have gone by. I just checked. But it is amazing. I wish we did this more and as much as possible. Whenever you're in Delhi, we'll have a second part.
Absolutely.
You know, with something else on the table, maybe music, because I think you're the sort of person who can talk about your interests endlessly, and I love geeking out with people exactly like you.
Absolutely.
And you're very easy to talk to, and like it isn't. You're not pricey at all, for lack of a better word. You know, like, because people can get pricey about their interests. Like, ये मैं नहीं बताऊँगा, थोड़ा पहले ये देख के आओ वगैरह, right? Because Look, if you like the pleasures of life, good
Yeah.
coffee, good
Yeah.
food, good places, good alcohol, it shouldn't be in the Queen's English.
Absolutely. When you can
You know?
share that experience, it's not about कि मेरे दोस्त वही करते जो मैं बोलता हूँ. It's not about that. It's just that if you find that one person who's interested in it, you're just gonna have a better conversation.
Right.
So why not?
So where can people find you, Abhijin?
Instagram Abhijin, Abhijin.
Yeah. And that's it.
Twitter पे कभी कभी जिन.
Kabhi Kabhi Gin. Nice. Yeah, so the gin is not GIN. He's not married to the idea of gin that much. It's just GIN. That's his name.
Yeah, and absolutely, just go find Swami. We do some good stuff, fun stuff. There are more fun people associated with the brand, and you'll see their faces on the Instagram. So just look up.
Isn't your boss like a big vinyl guy as well?
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
Like I would really recommend if you were here for a longer time that you. In fact, he's doing his own podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell you the name. I'll tell you later because the announcements are gonna come.
NDAs.
But yeah, he's doing his own podcast, and similar like how we've had this conversation.
Yeah.
You will have such an easy conversation with that person, and you can find whatever you want to talk about. Like so. Just like a closing thing, like. Before I came to Swami, Anish Bhasin used to run this.
That's your boss. Yeah.
That's my boss.
Yeah.
One of the co-founders of Swami Drinks. He used to run a startup called Hipcask, which was an app to discover alcohol. So this experience that you are saying, I don't know how to understand wine. You could go on that app. It does not exist anymore, but you could go on that app and you could check if I have this wine, what all am I having in this? What experiences I'm having. Even for craft beers, they used to have this really cool thing. I was a consumer at that point. You could buy a thing for like 1,500 and you go to like craft breweries, like couple of craft breweries, and you can have 10 beers. 150 rupees mein beer, like fucking craft beer. So he's been doing cool stuff forever, and the first interview I had with him at Hipcask, I remember it was an afternoon and I was at an Andheri residential thing where the office was, and it was Saturday. Contro, for people who know, Contro is this orange liquor, triple sec.
They use it in margarita, hai na?
Correct. So Alfred Contro, like the heir of Contro, the empire, was down in India. They brought him down, and I saw the recipes on the wall, and I asked him what is that, and he said, "Oh, this is what we did." He was here for 2 nights. We took him to a bunch of places, and we did like bar nights, and then for 3 hours we drank whiskey and watched funny ads.
That's crazy.
That's it. That was my interview. It didn't work out at that point, but obviously I knew, okay, there's something here. Kept an eye out. Eventually he did Swami. Eventually I left what I was doing and came to Swami. So, yeah.
And here we are in this undisclosed location in Bandra doing this podcast. Bro, it's been a blast having you on.
Undisclosed with a very nice terrace.
That's true. Well, we'll see you all next Tuesday or Friday. You can follow Abhijin on Instagram and Swami. Bye-bye.